You know, every time that I see us start and I just look over to you in your camera, Liz, and see the different ways that you dance and bop around. It's so delightful every time.
Yay! I like to bring a little whimsy. I'll tell you what, I was in a conference call. It was sort of a work call one time with, it was one of those things where we were doing a special like guest speaker and we brought in and so a whole bunch of colleagues were there, and it was so funny because one of them works at the Natural History Museum, like very senior person there. But it was very funny because I was sitting there and I just added the ears to the headset, and I get a private message from it being like, I really like the ears. And I was just like, oh, I just try to bring a little whimsy into the world. And he messaged me back, and it's like some conversation about like journalism and like science responsibility and all this. And I get this message back of, please keep doing that. It's just like, and it's, it's somebody like, like older persons. So like I'm like the youngest person in that conference call. Like everybody else is like got way more years on me. So it was just one of those. I was like, yay! Embrace whimsy, be silly, do weird dances in silence.
I'm still amused at the fact that like you it took me mentioning it for you to draw the connection about them being horse ears.
Yeah, I guess because I wasn't thinking of that, because to me, horsehair shape is different, which is why I didn't really. I love how this one doesn't want to stand up all the way. So now I've got like the dog with like the one ear thing going on now.
From here, they look kind of like pig ears.
And the question is, what ears are they? No one knows.
See if I can do... Okay, I can drag it down a little bit. There you go, audience.
Talking about ears, to our lovely little listening Voidwalkers.
Our whimsical Voidwalkers.
Be whimsy, be chaotic. Welcome, friends.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
The fuck are you talking about?
Well, I'm Dave.
I'm Liz.
I'm E. And we are not a good barbershop.
The Confabulators.
Oh, that was even more of a...
The two of us had it.
And then you said it, and he was in a totally different direction.
The two of us had it. We had it. Play it back. Play it back. We had it.
We had it, folks. Back. We had
2/3 of the way there.
We're so close. I still stand by, we're never going to get it, because the moment we start to get it, we're all going to freeze and be like, what was that? And so we're going to sabotage ourselves.
No. I'm a believer. After that, I'm a believer. I think we can. I think we'll get there.
But are you a monkey?
I think of all the times I don't know. I think of all the times I've seen vaulters where like we'd be coaching and practicing with them, and you'd be like, yeah, the goal is when you do your swing, you're going to go up and do a handstand. And the first time a vaulter actually gets it, and it's completely on accident, and that's the one where they go, whoa, I'm up here and now I'm flailing around. And we always are like, yeah, it started out good, but you scared yourself and surprised yourself because you actually made it. And that's why you fell apart there. So now we got to replicate that intentionally.
Yeah. That's amazing.
My belief.
The Confabulators?
Exactly. So, what is our topic for today?
Well, it's a very, very near and dear one to my heart. Actually, that may be complete bullshit. We're talking about bad sci-fi and our least favorite sci-fi, folks. The sci-fi that makes you rage against the machine. And then hang your head in despair because you have to live with the machine because modern technology. We hate it and we both love it.
There's a certain degree of love in that.
The science fiction that makes us want to kick somebody in the liver.
Well, somebody's gotta.
Liver punch!
Right? If it's not Evan, it's Jack. Or Jim.
Yeah, but bad sci-fi, folks. And what makes it bad? Why is it bad? Is it actually bad? Is it underrated, really, and not actually bad, and just some chuds out there have said, bad, because it didn't do the thing I wanted it to be. Blah, blah, blah.
I don't know if we can set a bar for bad sci-fi, right? In part, I think it's more of a gradient. And here's why I say that, right? There's bad sci-fi that exists, and yet there are some people who will defend it to the ends of the earth they will ride to hell with the sci-fi leading the charge, right? But there is a point where eventually everybody kind of has to agree that it's just bad, that it's bad sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
So
where you sort of go, this is objectively bad, and this person says, yes, but I'm still dying on this hill.
yeah, in which case, at least they're acknowledging that it's bad then, but then that means that they still say, yes, it is bad. But there is a certain point, I think, where the badness is undeniable. The challenge of that, though, is finding that gradient line, which is a weird sentence to say because gradients don't have lines. And yet, for something like this, I think that a gradient line is a great way of looking at it. And there's a lot of things that go into bad sci-fi. You know, I know that to kind of give a little peek behind the curtain, we have a little itinerary of sorts that kind of lets us figure out, okay, these are the questions we're going to ask and discuss. And there's a few things that are listed there, and those things are framed insofar as like primarily film, I would say, for what makes bad sci-fi bad. But I think it's also good and important to keep in mind like all the other different media that's out there as well. Though I do agree when somebody goes, well, what's bad sci-fi? That's usually being framed as like a movie or a film.
I think it's something that it's because movies as a medium are not necessarily the same amount of like time commitment as reading a book. A bad sci-fi book, somebody may just not finish. But a bad sci-fi movie, you might watch it all the way through because it only takes a fraction of the time to watch it. So it's more of a, you know, kind of a difference in how we digest them. Of where are we more likely to complete the media or not, depending on what it is. Because you might just say, this sucks, I quit. You know, not that we don't do that with movies too, you know, but I mean, I would admit to be one of the people of sometimes is going, well, either I don't care, so I'm just leaving it on and I'll just let it play out, or it's the maybe it'll get better.
It really depends on how the vibes are and how it feels. Like for example, one bit of sci-fi that I think is bad, that a fair amount of people I guess enjoy or love, is Zixin Liu's Three Body Problem. I read part of it and stopped because I think I finished the first book.
You finished it, yeah.
Yeah,
You finished
I finished the
book,
first
but
book.
it was a chore because you were telling us about it later, and it made no sense what you were telling us.
Yep.
It was painful, and as the three of us kind of looked further into it, because I told Liz and E, you know, after I had purchased the trilogy, it was later, like when it was just too late to take the books back, that I found out that Liu supports the genocide of the Uyghurs. And, you know, if there was time to take those back and get a refund, I would have, but alas, I could not. And so I got kind of stuck with them.
Nationalism in my sci-fi? Perish the thought.
Yeah. So I read the first book and it was very boring. It was very, it felt like somebody who was having a shower argument with someone else. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm suddenly that's such an image, and yet it works.
It's like when you're in the shower and you had a fight with somebody last night or whatever over something stupid, and you go and you start showering, and as you're showering, you go and you start thinking and reconstructing the argument, and then you're like, oh, but then I'd say this, and then that thought starts kind of patterning into like the other person with whom you were arguing going, oh no, my arguments, I can't win no more. And you're like, haha, that's right. this is the way it goes. But sometimes in the three body problem, even despite that, they go, but we're the government, so fuck you, and we win because we don't care if you win the argument. We're still going to do what we want because we have the technical legal power. Or like it's so baby brained. It's such infantile thinking that, like, the bits of sci-fi that are in there that are interesting, like some of the technology, the idea of it was a little interesting. I was like, okay, that's kind of fun. Putting in like coding in this alien force or whatever and their issues as a video game and trying to solve those issues has a little something to it. But the way that it's framed in I think you looked it up specifically, that you found out that it's all a framing of like China versus America, and that the good guys are the Chinese, even though the Chinese are framed as humanity, and America is framed as the alien force coming in.
I mean, that's the way
and, like,
nationalism always tends to work when adapted into a science fiction. Like it's always. I mean, that is the thing about. I mean, sorry to derail you here, but like that's always the thing about like nationalist politic, is that it's at its very core, it's about us versus the other. So it adapts itself very well to like universalizing the nationalist identity to humanity as a whole, and then projecting like the metaphorical other or the analogous other, depending on how close we're one-to-oneing this here, with an outside alien invasive force that's mutually incompatible with humanity. Contrast that with something like Star Trek, where the ethos has always been like seeking out new life, forming bonds with new life, like, and then literally depicting a diverse, integrated culture that grows and grows and grows as the series build upon each other in their timelines. Like, TOS, the original series, for a great example, like, they front and center it there, both in the literal and the metaphorical, with the crew being this, like, the bridge crew is this diverse cast from existing nations. You got a couple American, or wait, no, hold on a second, like, Sulu is American. He's Japanese American, right? Because he
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
got
he's basically,
like, you got 3 Americans, you got a Scotsman. I forget if Uhura was retconned as being from Africa or not. I feel like I read that at some point.
they never explicitly say, but it's sort of
Yeah.
like the idea is that there's a diversity of
Yeah.
heritages there, even if
Yeah.
like the nationality isn't
And
stated.
it's like,
'Cause the only two who really lean into their nationalities are
are
only a few of
Chekhov
them
and Scotty.
yeah, the series more actively leans into them.
Well, aside from like Kirk being like the avatar, slightly chauvinist avatar of idealized 1960s American potential. Anyway,
Yeah.
but then like, you've got the metaphorical with, and they've got an alien on the crew who's half human. So like, you've got to, like, you have like a literal metaphor for biracial people in there.
Yeah. But where was I going with this? What was I saying? Yeah.
Talking about nationalism and whatnots.
Yeah. So, like, I think that one could presumably carefully make a really good sci-fi story that involves nationalism in some way. Granted, again, carefully. But Lou just does not care about carefully. He just keeps it simple, baby brain, like, but this is the right way, and this is not the right way. And it's just like, dog, please stop shower thoughts. Please. Like, if you're serious about writing a sci-fi story involving this alien force and all this other shit, at least put some decent thought into it and stop with this like low hanging fruit. It's not good. It's really boring. Like the first time I tried to read it, because I did try to read it before, I stopped at the first chapter because I'm like, I don't know what this has to do with anything, because it was the beginning of it was set during the Chinese Revolution, around the time of Mao Zedong, I believe. And like, I didn't understand why that time period, nor did I understand, like, I don't know. It's like, it was very clear that like the good guy in that scene was like using very clear logic, and everybody else was like, but that's dumb and we're going to kill you, and he's like, well, I tried, and then that's it. It's
Very
just,
weak toast.
yeah, it's like less than milk toast as far as like weak and strong is concerned. It's very, like, if there was a way to be so limp that you go negative, like,
Your milk with a dash of coffee in it at that point.
yeah, but coffee's good.
That's what I'm saying. It's your milk with a dash of coffee, because instead of, it's just milk, really.
It just, there's nothing there. It's like, if you really want to read something that makes you feel some kind of national pride, and you frame that story, that trilogy, with your nation as the nation rather than specifically China as the nation, unless China is your nation, then sure, like, I guess you can fillet yourself, because that's about as much as it's worth. It's just giving yourself autofellatio, and I don't get any value out of that. I don't know anybody who would. Like, I can't think of anybody in our sphere who would be so needy as to have to read a story like that, so that way they feel better about themselves and their nation, like they feel reassured that yes, indeed, their nation is correct.
Sort of overly self-validating to... It almost has a ring of, like, the way you're describing it, especially with the whole shower thought, the shower argument thing, is it's like, this is so first draft, like, hey, okay, you had shower thoughts and you wrote them down, but you really needed to go back and edit a lot more, because this is just and it kind of has the nature of the epitome of first drafts, where it's just like, so much of this is unnecessary.
Well,
You could look at it like
that.
that.
Yeah,
Well,
like,
part
kind of,
of it-
because when they say your first draft is like, you kind of almost throw out the first draft. It's like, sometimes when you're working through something, you're like, let me write this all down because I need to work my brain through it before I sit down and like actually like go back and go, okay, what is the actual meat of this is here? It sounds like it's like reasons that your shower thoughts should not be your first draft. Never let shower thoughts be the first draft.
On the first draft aspect, like I've told this to you guys a lot of times, that the way that made me finally have first drafts click for me was to think of it like, your first draft is glorified notes. But the question I'd like to ask is, like, Now, again, with the caveat that I have not read The Three Body Problem, I have not seen the film adaptations of the Three Body Problem trilogy. What I'm wondering is, like, from the stuff I have read and heard, it's a very kind of nihilistic and cynical take on things. It is very much like the metaphor is couched in, like, the concept of the dark forest. The dark forest being the one one hypothesis for like why we don't hear or see from alien life, despite the mathematical probability of other life existing in the universe, and that is because under the hypothesis that everyone's just keeping silent because the moment you make a peep that gives a signal that you exist, you then immediately open yourself up to invasive threat that could wipe you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea is that everyone in the galaxy, or everyone in the galaxy, everyone in the universe is doing this because no one trusts each other to not come and kill them and steal all of their shit. And the thing I'd like to propose is, like, it's very much kind of like, I would say it's a very conservative worldview of things. I mean, it's also one that is tied up in a history of being colonized, of being fucked with. Like, we do think of China today as an ascendant world power, or world superpower, if not reaching superpower status already. But it's not even been 100 years yet since they were colonized by, like, the Japanese, had themselves fucked around with by the British Empire, so on and so forth, that you can draw those from. But the thing I kind of want to get at is, like, there's only so much room for growth and narratively in a cynical position like that, because you kind of cut yourself off from possibility when you go, we cannot interact with the other because the other is senseless barbarians out to kill us. So I kind of just want to throw that out there, get you guys' thoughts on that and how that, like, limits the scope of what you can write, and especially the possibility space within that. It's like there aren't many avenues where you can go from there that aren't, destruction or preemptive conquest, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're getting at kind of a central idea that I think just exists, and it doesn't just exist socially, it exists across a lot of things, which is, the best way I can describe it is, innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. Now, in the work that I do, we talk about it, if good narrative doesn't happen by itself. It comes from speaking with people and getting other perspectives, talking to people outside of your circle. And you see it echoed also socially in history through isolationism. Isolationism may guard you from certain things to an extent, but what we've frequently seen is countries that exist with isolationist policies typically fall behind in world advancement because they don't benefit from the greater perspective and outside perspective, or the benefits of, say, it's the whole,
there's no cross-pollination.
Exactly, which is why also, you see urban centers grow up around trade ports, because it's the cross-pollination of ideas, and why, these kind of the big developments are happening at these big cities, but they're also the ones getting the most cross-pollination happening. So it's getting at the, again, if you are so focused on that one idea with no leeway for differentiation and perspective, then it's sort of, you're going to end up in a funnel, and not a pleasant kind of funnel. You're going to be narrowing yourself down to a very singular, you can only come away in one direction, because there's essentially, there's no conflict, there's no conflict, there's no cross training, there's no cross pollination. You can think of it as 1,000 different ways, really. Like in sports, top athletes will cross train because, like for me, I was an equestrian vaulter, and everything. But and equestrian vaulting itself was good, but I would also do physical training. I knew lots of vaulters who also were horseback riders, and that cross trained them with harmony of the horse. Those who came from dancing or were also doing dance or gymnastics at the same time had skills that were coming that specifically benefited them as vaulters, but they were coming out of being of cross training in other disciplines. You see it football players who were taking ballet lessons because it helps them maintain flexibility and a certain amount of balance and dexterity that you weren't necessarily going to get from the hardcore like football training. That's, that's how you move forward, is through variation. Essentially, variation is key.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's a critical thing. And if you take out variation, you will stall.
It's like, I mean, going back to China as the example, like you talked about, like calls of port towns were these hubs of innovation and cross pollination stuff, and like when I think of that in China, like my go-to thinking is like just the bustle of life that is Hong Kong, for example. In America, obviously the go-to is New York City, as it was like, I mean, we're primarily talking like folks coming over from the Atlantic side of things, but like that was like, I mean, even today it is still like the cultural melting pot, the big quilt of life from all avenues, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think that gets at the core of also what you're seeing, Dave, in Three Body Problem. Is it's like, wow, this is so specifically focused in that there's nowhere for it to go.
yeah,
Thematically, symbolically, metaphorically, it sort of becomes oh, this goes nowhere unless you are so wholeheartedly in agreement with this that it is just self-congratulatory.
I mean, the other thing with Three Body Problem, like a spoiler alert for Three Body Problems for a person who's basically just read the Wikipedia summary of the books, mind you. So again, grain of salt, take it as you will with that caveat on mind. It's like, I think I've told you guys this before, like the end of that book basically is when contact's made, shit keeps going bad, and like, one of the things that, I don't know, Dave, if they cover it in the first book or the later books, but one of the things that comes up is they explain the reason why the speed of light's the way it is, and it's because that in the setting, basically, like, other alien civilizations up until this point, when they've made contact, have, like, to protect themselves, have basically fucked with the fabric of reality, of time and space, such that they're literally slowing down the speed of light to prevent... They literally permanently slow down the speed of light from what it previously was, so that their enemy cannot get to them as quickly. And that is a thing that apparently that keeps happening, even, I think, through the course of the book, is that, like, humanity and the other alien race in question wind up dropping it even further, so that, like, it becomes more and more infeasible to travel outside of the planet. And I'll be back for a second, guys. You keep going without me.
okay. So yeah, just, it's one of those things that I thought of, and I'm like, this is just so drab, so baby brained. I can't think of a better way to describe it other than just it's baby brained.
It's the kid rambling, and you sort of just don't know what they're saying. They're just
Yeah.
saying the first things that come into their mind, and it's just sort of, yeah, it's the, and this, and it just said this, and I did this, and this, and there is no logical connection.
Yeah,
Like,
and
something in their mind makes sense, maybe, but you're not even sure it makes sense to them. It's like words for the sake of words.
and all you can really do is go, good job, and pat them on the head.
Yeah, all of us
It's-
have had that experience where the child says something and we go, that's nice.
Exactly. It's very, I don't know. When I first heard of it, I heard of it from a YouTuber, a person who focuses on sci-fi, and they were going on about it, and I was like, oh, interesting. They sold it to me in such a way that before the spoilers hit, I stopped the video so that way I could go and read it.
Yeah. It
Which
piqued your interest.
obviously it took years to get to, so whatever. But like, I've had other disappointments, and I'll get to some of those here because some of them are sci-fi. I've been thinking about some of the other ones since we're approaching this topic, from different mediums other than like books. But this one was just like, it's disappointing in the way that you look at somebody who thinks that they made a good point, but really all they said was just vomit, and you just want to go to bed.
Yeah. Well, like I said, first draft problems. The problems of, this needed, if you really wanted to make something of this, and from an outside perspective, is there anything worthwhile here? It's kind of hard to tell because whatever you have needed a lot more time and work and marinating and more challenging of it, of like, hey, hand this to somebody else who doesn't know this topic matter and let them read it and tell you if it makes sense. It needed variation to see if there was something potentially even there.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't think there was anything there. It's
the curse of the first draft. It's sometimes you get to the work and you get through it and you go, oh, this is shite. I guess this is not actually anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you, Liz?
Oh, I mean, I laugh because it's in our notes. It's not actually, well, it kind of is, but also I just kind of laugh because in our notes for ages with the bad sci-fi, what was it that we specifically had in our notes that supposedly I said, and I don't remember saying it, and I'm also a little surprised because I realized when I heard E read it back to me the first time from the notes, I wanted to be like, that sounds like something Dave would say. Yet apparently I was the one who said it, supposedly, of, the notes that we always keep. That shitty AI movie by Spielberg and Kubrick, because who thought that was a good idea? They need a kick in the liver.
That sounds like you.
I just was surprised.
I'll be honest,
I'm like,
that sounds like you.
It's just good. Yeah, can you tell there was a really visceral reaction to that movie? And I watched it with my parents. This was years ago. And literally it was the movie AI. AI, artificial intelligence being the subtitle, whatever bullshit thing. Haley Joel Osment in his younger years, bless him. I don't hold anything against him. He was an unusually talented actor for being a child. Whatever. But the movie itself, total bullshit. Total bullshit. I hated it. I remember watching it, and when I found out that it was Kubrick, and it was a movie that was the first half was made by Kubrick, then Kubrick died. And so Spielberg picked it up and finished it. I remember even as a kid being like, not in so many words because I didn't swear at that age, but basically being like mentally, what the fuck? Like, that is a combination of people and that does not make any sense at all. Like, you could not have two more different directors tonally, and having one take over, like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, modern example, the Justice League movie. Snyder, tonally super different from Joss Whedon. But frankly, I'm not, issues with Joss Whedon and socially whatnot aside, Joss Whedon coming in and doing a whole shit ton of rewrites and reshoots makes sense. Because Joss Whedon is tonally extremely different from Snyder. And Snyder was pulled away from Justice League because of personal things going on at home with family. And that makes complete sense. And to me, I'm like, as much as I thought the movie sucked anyways, and I have no desire to see the Snyder film, it still was like, I get that, and I'm not mad about that. When everybody was like kind of up in arms of Joss Whedon's gonna change the movie, I'm like, well, yeah, he's tonally so different from Snyder. That's kind of the only fair thing he can do if he's being asked to come in and finish the movie. That's almost more fair than coming in and just trying to finish it in Snyder's vision when that's not his style at all.
Yeah.
Whereas Kubrick and Spielberg, it was like you could tell parts that were Kubrick parts versus you could tell parts that were Spielberg parts, and it felt so ham-fisted, so just shoved together. Like, there's a very, like, carnival scene where people are, like, destroying these robots and whatnot, and it's like, that is such a very Kubrick-coded scene. Like, it's uncomfortable, it's a little disturbing, but then you get to the end, and, like, he finds his mom, I don't know, and I just remember sitting there, well, like I said, was watching with my parents. My mom got up and walked out of the room. She was the smart one. My dad and I sat through it, and we were just like, I hate this. And that movie has stuck with me since then. I'm like,
I've returned at the
bullshit
best
idea.
time.
Bullshit idea. Should not have been done. I don't even remember the movie because at this point I would argue that the plot was probably a joke too. Like, it was just one of those, I'm like, honestly, you either needed to get a different director or take it all back to the drawing board after Kubrick died, because while I have my opinions about Kubrick anyways, it's unfair to both directors. Because it really is not... It was a piece of trash. It was a piece of trash. Someone needs to get kicked in the liver. Now, that being said, like I said, I have opinions on Kubrick and bad sci-fi. I can acknowledge the influence that 2001: A Space Odyssey had on film and the zeitgeist of film and all that. That does not make me like it anymore. I hate 2001. I think it's bullshit, but I can acknowledge the impact it's had.
Let me back you up on that. Insofar as, look, we're all film nerds.
Yes.
And I think of Kubrick's filmography, 2001 and Full Metal Jacket, and probably, I think he did Apocalypse Now.
Apocalypse Now is oh god, it's not coming to me. 1 second.
Okay, well, the first two that I said, 2001 and Full Metal Jacket.
Coppola. It's Coppola.
Coppola. Okay. 2001 and Full Metal Jacket are probably the ones that everybody knows the most. And there's very good reason for that. Yeah. And that's because with 2001, there's certain shots that are absolutely gorgeous.
Well, that's like I'm saying. He's objectively had a huge impact on film with some of these things.
And there's been a couple of iconic moments in 2001. Like, for example, the very beginning with the apes and the monolith, right? So iconic that in the Barbie movie, they pulled that full on. They're just like, we're going to use this and then just replace it with like little girls and dolls. And here we go, right?
Mel Brooks parodied the movie, parodied it in History of the World. And it was hilarious. Like, I'm not taking that away. Kubrick has objectively done some very iconic things in film that have literally stayed through time, that, you know, there are people who probably don't even know where those jokes originate from.
Yeah. And the other, which I think is arguably his best film, which is Full Metal Jacket. You know, most people remember the first half, which is basic training. And in that, you know, you got Vincent D'Onofrio getting his first real try at acting, as far as like being, bam, this is like your break, your big break. And that's why we have Vincent D'Onofrio all the way up to now, is because Matthew Modine, funny enough, Modine, he gives a lot often to the school where I did my bachelor's, and he also does the commencement speeches or whatever, and runs like an advanced acting course that you have to audition for if you're in the school to get into. But he got D'Onofrio on board. Like he got D'Onofrio connected with Kubrick to get him into Full Metal Jacket. And without Full Metal Jacket and Kubrick, we wouldn't have D'Onofrio. So, but
again, he's had objectively a strong impact on film.
But both halves, if you're paying attention to them in an objective way, are pretty striking. They're pretty fantastic for the most part. Like they really speak to the time and the place and the people and the mindset and everything that was going on and how shitty it all was. But to steer things back, but just because he had a couple of interesting bits and pieces. Oh, he also did The Shining. The Shining
I
was
was going
the
to
third.
say, The Shining is probably his other really big one that actually I would say in pop culture, The Shining is probably more known.
Yeah.
Whereas in a more narrow film nerd culture, that's where we start to get 2001 and Full Metal Jacket. Because I'm going to fully admit, I've never even seen Full Metal Jacket. I have zero desire to. Sorry, Kubrick. I don't even want to watch a Kubrick film. I had to make myself watch The Shining.
If I were to recommend one Kubrick film, it would be Full Metal Jacket.
And I respect that. I may never, because I had to make myself even watch The Shining just to understand that bit of horror culture.
And that's fair. We could do a whole episode on The Shining, the story, all three iterations. Anyway, getting back on track. So different directors have different voices, and that's, I think, pretty clear if they're like, if we're looking at it from the perspective of directors having a voice, because I think that there are directors that don't have a voice. Mm-hmm. And what I mean is, look at pictures and films that are put out in Hollywood into cinema today. Mm-hmm. And for the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
What directors' names do people know? Right? They know Tarantino. Mm-hmm. They know Spielberg. Mm-hmm. They know Nolan. They know Coogler. Mm-hmm. They know... I mean, he's put out like maybe one or two, but James Cameron... He's gotten really sparse.
He's always kind of been sparse in the last 10, 15 years, but he is very notable. Flavor. I'd say he still has a very distinct voice. It's
because when he runs low on his sea exploration budget, he's like, I guess I gotta make a movie. God damn it.
Yeah, I gotta go make a big like cultural blockbuster.
Yeah,
or at least trick people into thinking it's a cultural blockbuster.
So this one will probably get me some shade from people, but I don't think that Tim Burton is one of those anymore. Ever since after Nightmare Before Christmas, he has stopped being his own director and has been just a generic Hollywood regurgitator.
Well, even Nightmare Before Christmas, he was a producer on that. That was oh god, what was his name? Director of James and the Giant Peach.
Oh yeah. You're right. I remember now.
He's being brought in more for a flavor and a style, which I enjoy his flavor and style, but it'd be nice to see him branching out. It's almost like he's being brought in only for that, and so it's like can we give him room to actually be his own creative?
It's been subsumed voice. By studios, like whatever happened in that whole thing, like it's been subsumed by studios. And I'm sure like there's a degree where he gets his own voice, but even then, like, I don't know if it's him or if it's studios meddling, but since
he's had some strong moments, like Sleepy Hollow, actually, I believe was Tim Burton. And that's actually, it's enjoyable. And it's much more like, it's not Disney-fied Tim Burton.
I think I enjoyed Christopher Walken in that, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, I mean, Sleepy Hollow's not everybody's taste, but I would say that to me is kind of true Tim Burton, where it's not gonna sit with everybody. It's not. Yes, it's a very distinct look and flavor, but it's sort of an intentional stylization in storytelling.
It's also kind of hard. It's also kind of hard to watch now because Jeffrey Jones is in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and Sleepy Hollow was 1999. I'd forgotten. So I'd say he's had a few since Nightmare Before Christmas, but again, yeah, he's being sort of subsumed by the big studio and make the big thing. I feel like Sleepy Hollow is one of the ones that stands out in the post Nightmare. That is still kind of more. Yeah, that's Tim Burton leaning into his style, but also still
Yeah.
doing his thing.
Yeah. But yeah, like the past few years, there hasn't really been too many directors who could just be like, my name brings people in. Like that has been slowly disintegrated by studio influence because they want to bring it back to where they're the ones who have their names on pictures now,
Yeah.
not directors.
Well,
You know,
it's
you'll
what's
never
it-
see, like when Tarantino dies, who are we going to have left? It's probably going to be Ryan Coogler, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw some discussion on this online of like the latest Mummy movie that's coming out, that they're like, oh, it's literally being marketed as so and so's The Mummy or something like that. And somebody made a
Yeah.
comment. I saw like a post of somebody pointing out of like that's a specific kind of earned. Like they were sort of describing it, I would say, as kind of an earned right, but it's like you have to be a specific kind of. It was very one of those. It kind of posed the great question because they said, by comparison, if we say John Carpenter's Halloween, we all know, or John Carpenter's The Thing. Like there's sort of an earned privilege to that of we know what you mean when we say John Carpenter's The Thing, John Carpenter's Halloween. You know, it's sort of a yes, that's a specific. I don't know who the fuck this director is for The Mummy. I'm like, who the fuck are
That
you?
movie did come out. And
new one?
and it's not good.
Yeah, well, because the only Mummy movie anybody cares about anymore, ever since the first one, is really we just care about whether we get Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
Which supposedly
that's
they are making a fourth one, and supposedly they are completely retconning the third one because they're bringing back Vice. So they're retconning the third one since she wasn't in that.
Yeah.
Yay.
But the movie that you mentioned, what movie was it again? We got lost in the sauce.
I mean, I had started on, we started with AI, and then I was on to, I was adding my, by the way, Kubrick 2001, which I also objectively watched and went, this is iconic. Well, I mean, I guess now I know where some of these references come from, but otherwise, as movies go, no, I'm not watching 2001. Is it fun to make fun of it, and is it fun to see parodies of it? Yes, it objectively is, and that's where I say I acknowledge that 2001: A Space Odyssey objectively had a strong influence on culture in a certain element of being part of the culture that is not even necessarily that I feel like you see, like you said, there was something in Barbie movie that it's sort of become its own gag within, that I would be curious to know who actually knows what those references come from versus who thinks it's funny because it's sort of just culturally become, oh, it's funny, it's a monolith, and it's like, no, but have you actually seen the original, you know, the joke that's becoming so in joke that people don't know the origins of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I enjoy that. I enjoy those parodies. I enjoy the parodies of like, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And
Like
yes,
that's
I had to bring
fun.
that in. You know, Mel Brooks's parodies to me were hilarious. Do I ever want to watch it again? No. And it's where I call it, it's bad because frankly it's not what I call an enjoyable watch. That doesn't mean it wasn't powerful, especially at its time. And didn't have a lasting impact. Now, is it bad? Again, like AI is bad? No. AI is bad. That movie is bad. Is shit.
You know what you should
Do
watch
not watch
instead
it
of
unless
AI?
you want to suffer.
You should go watch Astro Boy.
Is
not
that
really
good
my
or
thing.
bad?
I was gonna say.
I mean, Astro Boy's good, especially if you go and watch like the circa 2000-2001 like TV series where like it was the big anniversary production, so they went all out. So literally every episode of this nearly, if not 50 episode TV series is animated at feature film quality.
That's impressive.
It's like
I have to admit, Astro Boy never quite fell into my purview of interest, but hey, you know, that was just me on my interest.
the CGI movie's
Yeah.
kind of just bland kids movie fare, but the TV show is fantastic, especially the way it adapts or it gave these small arcs a home. No, adapts the classic arcs from the manga. It's like the stuff with the Blue Knight, or or I forget if it's called, if the arc is called World's Strongest, the one with Pluto. Well, speaking of Pluto, also what you could go watch is
Pluto Nash.
no, but you could go watch Pluto, based on the manga by Naoki Urasawa, currently on Netflix. It is an adaptation of the World's Strongest arc from Astro Boy, except filtered through a sci-fi mystery thriller lens. This is the same author for the manga who did, for example, Monster, which I think I've told you guys about plenty of times before, or 20th Century Boys, Billy Bat, etc., etc. It's really, really good. It's 8 episodes long. Each episode's about an hour or so in length.
Yeah.
If you want.
Now, on a different bad movie, if you want to watch one on an inverse side, want to watch a different kind of bad. I'm kind of sort of calling back to, sorry to deviate us here, but I'm going to call back a little bit to Dave of bad sci-fi, sort of, but not like American-made bad sci-fi.
Pluto Nash.
Well, bad taste.
Pluto Nash.
Bad taste.
Pluto Nash.
Are either of you familiar with bad taste in what I'm saying?
No.
You mean bad taste in movies, or movies with bad taste, or
a movie called Bad Taste?
I am talking about the latter. It is a movie called Bad Taste.
Oh, okay.
It is a Peter Jackson early career film about aliens attempting to invade Earth. Peter Jackson is in the film.
Oh God, I've seen this poster.
Aliens are so demented. The movie is 3 hours long, and I watched it. Friends and I watched it at my old roommate.
Oh my God, the name of the organization.
Yeah. It is aliens who come to Earth to invade Earth because they're trying to fuel their fast food industry.
What's the name of the organization?
Dave, it is the Astro Investigation and Defense Service. Take a moment and put those letters together as an acronym.
It's been so long since I've seen it. AIDS! Yeah, the movie, among other things, it is true classic pre-Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson that makes you sit there and go, were the people who approved him to be director of the Lord of the Rings just not aware of his prior film library? Because, this would give me pause if I had known. And yet we got the Lord of the Rings, and he did a wonderful job with it. But it is proof to me that you can improve. You can start out because again, it is a 3-hour fucking long movie. The aliens are so insane looking. They are basically fast food CEOs out to make the best fast food. Peter Jackson plays a guy who ends up somehow getting shot in the brain, and I shit you not, at one point in the film uses a tie, let me tie my tie, to try to push the brain matter back into his brain and hold it there so that he can continue to function. And at the end of the movie, bursts out the bottom of an alien yelling, "I have become reborn!"
This sounds like some Tromaville shit.
It is utter insanity.
I'm
it is
skimming the
very
wiki
classic
right now. Oh
Peter
my God.
Jackson. Yeah. Here's the context of how I saw it and was introduced to it, and why, even though I'd be hesitant to watch it without certain contextual things to help make it entertaining. My old roommates and I, there was a house about a mile away from us. One of them was dating a guy living in that house, and that house we all dubbed the nerd house. So it was kind of the big hangout because it was an actual house off campus, and people would just kind of come and go there. We all were a bunch of nerds, silly things. So when our other roommate graduated, we did her grad party there. Now, her graduation party had a lot of booze at it, and this is not to sound literally her parents were yeah, we want to provide all the food. Her mother was this wonderful cook, and they also their parents brought all the booze to the party. Her mom was in the kitchen showing us, going, "Girls, this is how to properly take a Jell-O shot. Oh, and beware, the lemon ones are a little strong." We were all... The only reason we were all probably not as drunk as we should have been was that lasagna was so protein heavy that it was like we should all be like passed out drunk, and yet we are not. But some point during the night, we decided, well, we're bored of playing games and laughing, so let's put on a movie. And I don't know how we got to Bad Taste being the movie we put on, but we did. We're all just sort of bleh around the room because we've been drinking, whatever, whatnot. My roommate is like half passed. The roommate who's graduating, this one is like half passed out on the couch. I'm sitting there. They had bought those little like bubble things like you can get like for novelties for parties. They had bought them in our school's colors, black and gold, VCU, go Rams. And I'm sitting there like for the entire 3 hours of the movie, I just sitting there blowing bubbles in the dark while we watch this movie. And afterwards, everyone was just like, what did we just watch? Like, we were so I'd be willing to watch that movie again. I just probably will be drinking when I do, because it's something that somehow I think benefits from your brain just kind of being like, huh? Because it is batshit insane. It is quintessential Peter Jackson. Like, but yeah. Gore, insanity. I mean, when he starts acting weird, and it's like, oh yeah, because he got shot and like his brain stem, and it's like, okay, he's gonna die, and it may be comical over the top. No, he's gonna push his own brain matter back into his head and somehow that makes it slightly more possible for him to function, but he's not really functioning normally anymore.
Derek wakes up in a seagull's nest with a hole in his head, so he uses a hat to keep his brains from leaking out.
Yeah. And occasionally they leak out and he has to put them back in.
Derek emerges and joins the fight using his belt as a headband when the hat is shot off.
That's what it was. Yeah,
oh my god.
What it was.
Wait. Yeah, he replaces missing parts of his brain with alien brain. Oh my god. What the fuck is this movie?
So I would throw that onto the spectrum of science fiction, bad science fiction, but it's definitely bad science fiction, but it's also the kind of bad science fiction that is entertaining to an extent for how much of a disaster it is.
I want to put a pin in that because there's an aspect that I think that we could talk about in relation to bad sci-fi that we can circle back around to.
So there you go. I had to deviate us with that, though. Also, because watching the two of you try to figure out what I meant by bad taste was wonderful.
Okay. So, another one, E. So I think we've mentioned, I mentioned a book, you mentioned a movie, E. Is there an initial bad sci-fi that you'd like to introduce into the conversation?
Now, see, for me, this one's sort of hard because a lot of bad sci-fi, if I watch bad sci-fi, it just, for the most part, it just kind of slides off me like a duck's back, like, okay, no room for that. Though there are two that come to mind. One we mentioned before the show. One of them.
I was gonna say, I know I reminded you of one.
Now, one of them is I mean, it's a bad movie overall, but the thing that makes me angry about it isn't so much like, the badness of it. That I can deal with. It's Doom. It's the Rock and Carl Urban Doom movie. That is not, despite being called Doom, it is not Doom. Sure, it takes place, it's a horror movie set on the moon. Or not the moon, fuck my brain right now, God. Mars, yes.
We got you.
But it's like, what if instead of doing Doom, what if we made a ripoff of the Resident Evil Milla Jovovich movies, complete with our monsters being, like, I think the implication, if I remember that stream several months ago now correctly, was like, they took alien DNA and injected it into people to try and make super soldiers, and they turned into mutant monsters, instead of it being opening a portal to... It's Doom! Portal to hell! It's a portal to hell! That's what Doom is about. in the schlock and bullshit of it all, it's about opening a portal to hell and you fight the demons as a marine, and it shouldn't be scary in the idea, like, it's not a horror movie, it should be an action movie about fucking up demons. This should not be a question of, oh shit, is someone gonna get killed? No, you know who's gonna get killed? The fucking demons are gonna get killed. They're gonna get killed with a super shotgun, with a chainsaw, with your bare fucking knuckles, because here we go, it's punching time. I am punching the literal demons of hell now. That movie was not that. That movie was bad.
It's kind of funny because in that regard, the game is actually more objectively a horror setting of a game. You're fighting demons, and the movie was like, we're gonna change it from demons and make it science-y.
Yeah.
Objectively, you got like this weird thing of they actually switched places.
It so badly wants to be the Mila Jovovich Resident Evil movies. Is the thing, you can feel it. That's what it wants to be, but it can't even be that, because it doesn't even have the style or savoir-faire of a Paul fucking W.S. Anderson movie. And I just used the word savoir-faire for Paul W.S. Anderson, which tells you how annoyed this movie fucking makes me.
I was gonna say, you were pretty mad at that movie.
Yes, I still am. And now for this episode, I need to capture Doom footage. Damn it. I mean, damn it, and then I have to capture Doom footage from that movie, but less damn it, and then I can capture the good games. And I thankfully found, I think I mentioned this to you guys a couple months ago, that I found my disc copy of the Doom reboot from years ago, so I don't actually, I thought I only rented it. Turns out I bought that fucker from a Redbox.
Nice.
But it's funny to me because Doom, I agree, is objectively a bad film, but I think because I had no ground, like, I had played Doom game for about 5 minutes. To Doom. Yeah, I had no personal attachment to Doom. I had played a little bit of Doom years ago, like one of the newer, not the newest one, but one of the newer ones. But the problem was I was playing it on DivaBot, and DivaBot had trouble supporting it. So I kind of just lost interest because it was like, oh, this is just shooting monsters and there's no plot. I'm, whatever. I'm bored now. I went back to Resident Evil. And so when I watched the movie, I knew it was going to be bad when I sat down to watch it. I was just like, this is early when Dwayne Johnson was still really marketing under his stage name of The Rock, because his wrestling name, because it was still kind of this.
Yeah.
It just was one of those, this looks bad. Oh, Carl Urban's in this? Well, I'm a little intrigued because he's an objectively good actor and has been
save it.
Always. Like, Dwayne Johnson is grown as an actor. Carl Urban, it was like, no, you've always been good in everything I've seen. I was amused by it, and it's sort of, I've watched it more than once willingly, is to say that. It's kind of one of those, for me, it became I want to put on something that is just mindlessly dumb, but happens to have somebody who's, can still manage to act. Maybe it's the fact that you're watching the challenge of, can Carl Urban act his way through this? Or what? I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it, but like in a, this is bad and kind of dumb, and oh look, the guy who was a dick died. I don't feel sad at all by this. I'm giggling with joy. But I also understand that it's because I have no emotional attachment to the franchise.
And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest Doom head out there. My earliest days of Doom were like kind of just fucking around and not knowing what I was doing at like however the fuck years old I was, with the shareware DOS version of it, and then like renting like Doom 64 and whatnot. So, like, I'm not a particularly big Doom head, but it's like, it's just such a simple fucking form. That's what it is. I'm a person who admires the simple fucking formula. And when you fuck up the simple fucking formula, then I get pissed, because it's like, it's right there! You had 2 + 2, and for some reason, you wrote 15! How did you write 15?
So here's my question to you, E. Is the real thing of why did they make this Doom movie, or is it why did you even bother trying to make a Doom movie
Yes!
if its beauty is in the simplicity that is the games?
Let me...
Like, did this need a movie?
I mean, I think you can make a good Doom movie. They just haven't yet. And, like, it's, like, like, you talked about, Liz, you not being much plot in Doom 2016. And that's one of the things that works so well about it, because it actually uses that in an interesting way. For example, like, there's a scene that I love, and everyone else on the internet apparently loves from this game, where you are the Doom Marine. You are now called the Doom Slayer. You have... God only knows what has happened since Doom 2 that has now put you in this weird fucking sarcophagus that they've unearthed on Mars. Eventually they explained that in stuff. But anyhow, so you get out and you see, oh shit has gone to hell because they've been fucking around with hell again. And you get called on an intercom by... the head of, like, Argent Industries, which is the company that is literally mining hell for energy. That is what they have decided the energy source of the future is hell energy.
Hellfire fuels the future.
And, like, his name is Samuel Hayne, or Samuel Hayden or something like that. It's a Sam Hain pun. Or a Samhain pun, rather.
I was going to say, which is the other side of that nobody ever pronounces it correctly.
Yes. And so...
it's not actually Sam Hain, people.
Yeah. So Samhain, and his the name he goes by, I think, is Samuel Hayden. It's supposed to be a reference to that. It's supposed to be a riff on that. And so he's talking to you through this intercom, and he's trying to give you this long, corporate-esque speech about the situation. And, like, it's full of all of these justifications for what they've been doing. And it's like, you know, it's your typical kind of, like, this is how we would give the plot, we would explain the plot to you in other first-person shooters that are interested in the plot. And what does the Doom Marine do? He punches the fucking intercom out, because he has no interest in this bullshit. And it goes two ways. One, we're not here about the traditional bullshit plot. We have no like, you're here to kill demons because you need to kill the fucking demons. They ain't supposed to be here. They're fucking hell demons invading the world, invading our plane of reality. And it works in that way both from both a diegetic and exegetic part, because diegetically, he has no fucking interest in this self-serving bullshit about, oh, we found this new clean source of energy. It was mining Argent energy from hell. And it's like, motherfucker, I don't care. You're mining hell energy. I have no interest. It's like, before he punches it, you can see the anger in his fist. And, like, I mean, again, a game, not exactly versed in the plot, but the characterization in just that 5 minutes is rock solid perfect.
I'm gonna add. I got a couple comparisons that made me think of one. The old like adage of Playboy of, oh, we're looking at it for the articles. No, you're looking at it for tits and boobs. Just own it. But I was just thought, because I've been rewatching The Expanse, and the moment when Amos runs back on the ship after they stop the little like Martians that they rescued from like trying to take over the Rosinante, and Amos runs back up on the deck after he finally gets back on the Rossi, and he has this look like, did I miss it? Like, he's just so there to punch somebody in the face. Like, he just has this look like, I'm ready to punch a bitch. Is Amos? He looked so excited to punch somebody.
Would it help if they were to do I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it.
Okay.
Like, okay, when I say series, think in terms of movies as a series rather than like a TV show, right? A Blazkowicz series that goes from the times of Wolfenstein to Doom.
I mean, that would be awesome if they did it well. The problem is just, and like, I'm not saying like a Doom movie can't have plot. I'm just saying a Doom movie's plot should actually mesh with the tone and atmosphere of Doom, which is, you know, we are gonna fuck up I almost said aliens. No. We are gonna fuck up the demons of fucking hell.
We need an Amos we need an Amos type central character of point me at it, I want to punch it.
And also,
that's
like,
what I'm here.
And also,
I want to punch a thing.
Like the key to plot and characterization within Doom, the Doom Marine should cut through the bullshit. Like you can have that Samuel Hayden character start elaborating on his bullshit, but the Doom Marine's got to cut him the fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, because even that thematically tells you so fucking much, like, especially, like, when you are versed in the context of these things, like, as a gamer, or, I brain fried myself by using the term gamer, and I'm trying to excise that from my vocabulary as a term, because I have issues with, like, I'm a book reader, I'm a movieer, I don't know,
As someone who enjoys playing Dune,
yes.
Doom, something, whatever the fuck it is.
Doom.
Now, there's a
I've
crossover.
actually got Gur on my other screen right now.
There's a crossover.
Oh my God.
Doom and Dune.
Oh my God.
Oh god!
Oh,
It would
boy.
make Dune more interesting.
Which is worse, the aliens invading from hell or the golden fucking path?
I mean, Doomslayer doesn't care.
Doomslayer will cut a...
Now, I posit a different alternative.
Ow,
Doom.
God, my hand!
Doom, but Gur.
Doom.
Just going doom, as he goes through. Just give him the big ass gun. Still give him the big ass gun.
Yeah.
It's Gur.
Yeah.
Running around in Doom. And sorry, and I'm not even kidding.
That Doom one
I
has
did not
to
expect
exist.
this to. I did not expect this to go to there, because literally in my other windows on my screen, I felt re-inspired today to go back to an art idea I had years ago that was basically Gur and Pyramid Head, and now I have literally images on my computer in front of me right now of Gur and Pyramid Head.
Now I'm just thinking about how I made you go, what the fuck, last night after you checked the Discord and saw that screen cap for Little Wit Academia.
Well, just something about the bubbly anime-ish, and then Pyramid Head. It was just like, the fuck am I looking at? All right, we're going off the rails here.
Yeah.
So let me...
Well, there is one other thing, if I can segue from... So one thing I'd like to ask about is, like, obviously, you know, there's me doing my Doom diatribe, right? But what I'd like to ask you is, what about bad sci-fi that is trying for, you know, fucking Avatar. There you go. Where it's like, well, there's a functional popcorn movie for you. It does gangbusters at the box office. People, like, they don't stick around in the cultural memory particularly long after their release. They're just kind of like, they're the empty calorie snack food of the blockbuster. But
I think that's the perfect way of describing it.
Yeah.
And the other thing, but the thing is, like, boy, those are kind of fucked up thematically when you think about it, or when you look up interviews from James Cameron talking about how the movies are basically like, man, the indigenous tribes of America, if they only knew what we were going to do to their great-great-grandchildren generations later, they would have fought harder and driven us white people back. And it's like, now I don't say that in the sense of, like, right-wing chuddery. I say that in the sense of, James Cameron, I know you're a liberal white guy, but can you be a little less liberal white guy about this? Where, in this sense, what I mean is, you are still internalizing a certain level of really offensive racist chauvinism.
I was gonna say, isn't it like I mean, I've never wanted to see any of the Avatar movies. Honestly, I've never desired it. I've never watched them. But I mean, it's basically like, it's white savior complex.
Yes,
it
is.
Like the first one, and
Yes,
which is
it
just
is.
very like, can we move away from that?
It's
like,
what if
can
Get
we
Out
maybe...
wasn't it? It's like for example, like Get Out is kind of like the kind of preoccupied is not the right word. Get Out is concerned with that same sort of mentality in a certain sort of self-proclaimed liberal white ally, where where they're not really an ally, they just kind of covet these physical aspects of the people they say they're an ally to, and they're racist in that way. And so it's literally like, what if Get Out was presented as a good thing to happen? What if the only difference
what
is...
if the white people in Get Out were good guys?
Yeah, because the protagonist,
like, the only difference is they're not body jacking extant Na'vi in this case. They're just making clones.
In Avatar, they just straight up have white dudes like get inserted into Na'vi bodies, and then, oh no, I guess you're stuck there now. Oh no.
Yeah. A little bit, isn't it also like Dances with Wolves or something? Like, South Park made the whole joke of it's just Dances with Wolves.
I mean, it is. It is.
Dances with Smurfs, if anybody knows the reference.
Yes.
That's the South Park line.
And it's like, Mike, do you not realize the thing you're doing here, and like the really gross racial overtones? You've gone from this demonizing the indigenous as ignorant savage, and I feel disgusting using that phraseology, but that is the mind state of the old way of thinking, to literally coveting that. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you went from one type of racism to another type of racism, where you've gone from like demonizing them to putting them on this pedestal, so you still don't regard them as regular people. You still see them as this other. Now you just see them as this aspirational other you covet. Because you can't deal with your own... It is fetishism.
It's fetishizing, It's fetishizing without sexual necessarily. Without sexual tones necessarily. But it still is like, you're fetishizing this, you know? And it's uncomfortable. And it's funny because, and I say funny abstractly because I feel like I didn't know it I didn't necessarily think this at the time, but I feel like it's one of the things that's also kept me away from Avatar the more and more, like, over the years, that it's just kind of like, oh, look, homeboy infiltrates the indigenous people by disguising himself as one of them, and now, okay, whatever. Whatever, fuck that shit. Let me just, like, nah. Yeah, it's like there's bad, it's like, it's the bad because it's like, did you actually think through what you were saying here? Because this is really not, this is not really making any helpful social comments.
No, it's
just white people being white people again.
It's basic. It's like, it's 1970s white guilt that only engages with a racist caricature of the people they feel guilty about. And it's like, you know, there's a lot of shit we have to do to make restitution, make reparations for the fuckery that this country has been up to for 4 fucking centuries. But what if I proclaimed you the noble savage and then became you by literally wearing your skin? That's not
creepy too.
That's not the way to go.
I don't think I've ever heard you be so creepy in my life,
and
I don't like it.
I just had this mental image of, like, it's like somebody catfishing a whole people, but saying, I'm doing this for your own good.
I'm doing this for you because I love you.
Which is actually just, it's gaslighting right there.
Yes.
It's saying, we respect you, but you need me. You need me.
Yeah.
You need us. You need us to make people realize how good you really are. And I'm like,
exactly.
No, thank you. Gaslighting. No, thank you.
It's like, why is the hero of this picture, like, the white colonizing soldier now having his redemptive arc, and where, like, part of that redemptive arc is literally him being physically restored in a really ableist message as well. It's just all manner of fucked up bullshit masquerading as It's like, it's not progressive. It's really not. It's like, why
Yeah.
is the hero of this story the colonizer who invaded the...
James Cameron, just go back to helping the ocean.
Yeah.
Go back to that. No more blue people.
To kind of bring things around, I want to mention another.
Just go make more Battle Angel Alita movies. Finally, you made one in like 30 fucking years of talking about it. Just that, or just go fund the Battle Angel Alita anime series so we can finally get that going.
Yeah,
adapting decades of manga.
I want to bring up a video game in a different kind of style.
Okay.
So y'all know that I'm a huge FMV fan.
Yes.
Yes.
I love FMVs just like I love Metroidvanias and fighters.
Yes.
So one FMV in particular that I was incredibly disappointed in is called The Dark Side of the Moon. I don't expect y'all to have heard of it.
I don't know if I have or not. What decade?
2021.
Okay, so new.
So fairly recent.
Okay.
Yeah, fairly recent. So the big stars in it are people who have been in a lot of FMV games.
Mm-hmm.
Anna Rosa Butler and Rupert Booth. Now, Butler, she does things other than video games. She's done movies and shows and stuff like that. I think most notably as far as movies are concerned, let me look.
Oh my god, I thought they might have. Nextlander apparently played it.
Let's see. She was in Vampire Academy in 2022.
Okay.
She's also she's got some other stuff that's coming out. Like the most recent thing that came out is one called Sweet Brother. I don't know anything about it, but she's done some video game stuff. Most notably, as far as video games, she did, and this also has Rupert Booth, Contradiction, Spot the Liar, and
that one.
The Shape-Shifting Detective.
Interesting.
Right. Those two are probably their best known things. Booth, who is a phenomenal actor, does mostly video games. Though he's done some other stuff, like he did voice work in 2001 for Doctor Who: The Monthly Adventures.
Okay.
And he was also in I'm trying to think of what else he was in. Mostly video games. Like others that I've played that he's been in were like Bloodshore. And I haven't played Murderous Muses yet, but he's been in that. That's his most recent credit in 2023. But he's got 2 video games that he's in coming out that are currently labeled as filming, called Equinox and A Rum Case in Fogtown. I don't know what those are about. But to get back to The Dark Side of the Moon, and this is what I understand about it. So it's about this guy's 2 children vanishing during the night.
Yeah, I know this one.
You have to help him find those children. Now, Anna Rosa, she plays a conspiracy theorist. Stays like hidden away, has a computer, all this stuff, right? So you like wind up running into her and like working with her to find like I'm gonna spoil it. And it's a game that I wouldn't recommend anybody playing, which is very sad because Rupert Booth is especially good in this. And his talent is wasted. I mean, hers is wasted as well, but his is really wasted. Like when you see footage of Rupert Booth in things like Contradiction, or even in this game, like if you go to the Steam page and you scroll down to the About This Game, you'll see a little GIF playing from there, and you get to see a clip of Booth like just going buck wild with laughter. It's amazing. And the thing is that
Booth was the detective, right? In Contradiction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can,
he's the guy who
audience,
played
you can't
Jinx.
see it, but I'm throwing up the horns. Do you know
Yeah.
what this is?
Yep. Or yeah. Yep,
We're
yep.
going to have to
The
introduce
horns.
Liz to Contradiction Spot the Liar, Dave. You realize that now,
It's
right?
it's such a good game. It does take some thinky thoughts because you're being a detective detecting, but it's a really interesting plot. Anyway, back to Darkseid. So you find out that Rupert Booth is an alien who has abducted the children and is trying to use them to power some sort of weapon or something like that, that he wants to use. And it okay, so it was funded by the guy who plays the main character.
Mm-hmm.
The main guy who plays the main character
Yeah.
wrote it and produced it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
I see where this is going.
You see where it's going, right? There's only a few locations, and these locations you can tell are in a very specific area and doesn't go anywhere else.
Yep.
It's a fairly short game. There's not too many decisions to make, so the budget's very small. And to me, from what I understand and from what I can tell based off of my experience playing it, the budget went to Anna Rosa Butler and Rupert Booth because of their reputation for being in FMV games, the content that they put out, and everything like that. And they're doing their best with what they're given. They are, like, you could tell they're the best parts of the game. Like, it's a sharp drop after those two. But like, they've got nothing. They like almost nothing is there. This game, like I've played like Contradiction, I played Shape-Shifting Detective to the point where I'm like, I want to find more stuff with these people in them, these people in these games, because I want to support them to show, hey, people are buying this game and there's other games being bought that have these connections of these two actors, right? Yeah. And like, I want to be like, get more of these games out there, get these actors hired, get these people in places. Like, Rupert Booth honestly deserves to be a main villain. Like, if he was in a position like Thanos was in the Marvel phase 1 to whatever, all the way through Endgame, if he was in that position as a villain, like whatever his villain would be, he would do it. Like, he would rock that so hard.
Just all around a good actor.
Yeah.
Who
And
deserves to do more.
Anna Rosa, she's fantastic playing like these weird characters who are kind of like a little like needing their space almost, but also have a certain kind of frenetic energy to them that doesn't feel like a stereotype manic pixie kind of energy. Like, it feels like her. I don't know a better way of describing it offhand. Like in Shape-Shifting Detective, she played a tarot reading fortune teller. In Contradiction, she played a young lady who got pulled into a business cult. Dark Side of the Moon, she plays a conspiracy theorist. So like, you can see the kind of types that she can play and that she gets. And she's really, really, like, they're both really, really good. And the things about Darkseid is that it's written, directed, produced by the guy playing the main character. Other than Butler and Booth, it seems like nobody else has any like real credit for acting or film or anything like that.
I mean, it's not a particularly large production, is it?
Not really, no.
It wouldn't be.
Okay.
And I know that a lot of FMVs, most FMVs don't have too many complicated like video game mechanics,
Yeah.
right? Like I think the most complicated one that I've seen is not for broadcast, where you run a television show as a television director in a dystopian Britain, which really fun game. Anyway, getting back to it, but most of them are usually like you either point and click to find things like the point and clicks of the past, Sam and Max, Maniac Mansion, etc., or you
Your
have
Phantasmagorias.
yeah, or you have a cinematic scene play, and then when it gets to a certain point, you make a choice between different options, and those give you a different branch that you go down.
Your Road to Empresses.
Yeah. I think modern day, most people would probably know the company Wales Interactive.
Yep.
For that, another British company. A lot of FMVs of the modern day come out from Britain and
China now.
And China now, yeah. But Darkside has this basic premise of two children get abducted, and now it's up to you to find them. But everything around it suffers. Everything around it crumbles. It just does not work. And I think in the case of this, it's mostly tied to one guy doing all the work as far as like writing, directing, producing, starring,
Calling all the shots.
calling all the shots, right? He doesn't have people who tell him no, which is also a George Lucas problem.
And a Zack Snyder problem.
Nobody can tell them no because nobody's in a position to do so.
Or no one's there, apparently.
Huh?
Or no one's there, basically, to do
Or
so.
no one's there. No one's there. In the case of Darkside, I believe that it was like a vanity project.
And the hazard of small projects where you've got one person who's funding it and also doing everything, because in small projects, typically people wear many hats, and that can become the hazard of small projects.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is
And
minimal variation.
And we're no strangers to that experience. Like, we've done a lot of small projects together. And in those, we generally have to rely on one another. We have to check in with one another, and budget oftentimes is either shared amongst everybody because there's an understanding of like, we're trying to build this thing together, or it's usually the person who wrote it, who's trying to introduce it to the group and be like, yeah, here's this thing. And it kind of leans on them to do at least a good portion of the funding of it because they wrote it and they want it made. And so they're getting everybody together. Okay, who's going to fund it, right? Like that kind of deal.
If you wrote it and you're funding it, you're sort of by nature also calling the shots on it, unless you physically openly hand it off to somebody else and say, I'm just backing this. But
right,
that's often not the case.
And I think that there's a degree of danger in wearing so many important hats, important in quotes, because everybody involved in any kind of film,
above the line
whether it's
hats.
like above the line hats, there you go. For those who don't know, above the line is basically like for people who are in positions where they either coordinate with people who are under the line in their section, like say production designer handles art team, or
like
who is it
director,
that handles
producers.
G&E?
If you are the in a business,
I think
if you are the instead of having an executive team that spreads out to different departments, instead you are the executive team.
Yeah.
G&E, I think, would fall under the cinematographer at the top. At the top there.
I think so. So like there's like those heads of departments that are above the line. you know, and they make those decisions, but those decisions get spread down to others who are below the line that handle those bits and pieces, because the people who are above the line have to make coordinated decisions, right? They have to coordinate with everybody who's in that team in order to make things go smoothly. And the people who are being given those different directions handle those bits and bobs, no matter how small those bits and bobs are, because if those aren't handled, then production suffers. And so film, and I speak in this in terms of FMVs as well, is handled in such a way that like it's a collective work. It's a collective production, you know, and even more with an FMV, because you also have to think in terms of video games. You have to think in terms of, okay, we get this footage. What are we doing in the video game? How are we coding it? You know, like you have to practically build two different in game development, it's called a game design document. In film, it's called a what's the term? I'm forgetting the term. Give me 1
Oh,
second.
you'll think of it later.
But there's it's something where like you series Bible, like a series Bible, right? Speaking in terms of like at least a TV show, right? You have a series Bible that tells you all the things that you need as far as like production and stuff like that, where you expect things to go and coordinate and all that. And like with a video game, especially one where you have multiple endings, you really have to plan out all the branches. You have to figure out what are the mechanics? What is it going to look like in the game? You have to describe all the stuff. And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of thankless work, really. Unless like you're a small team and you know, treat each other very well. But that's usually, you know, not how it works. But with Darkside, coming back to it, it doesn't feel like there was much of a plan. It feels like the dude wrote like a script that didn't have anybody else look over and go, here's notes, change this shit. And he just went, yeah, this will work. And then paid 2 actors who were like, sure, why not? It'd be nice to like have some money to like play around with. And they get opportunities to like have clips for their demo reels, you know, which you can see them acting their heart out. And they do a great, like they're the best parts of the game, like I said. And this comes around to me thinking about, and this is where I'm going to point out my pin. I'm not necessarily going to pull it because y'all might have another thing you want to talk about, is when it comes to what makes sci-fi bad, is it solely based off of budget?
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say not as well. But in a weird way, I also want to say yes. And here's why. Like it's kind of one of those Schrodinger's sci-fi problem kind of things, like Schrodinger's box, but instead of a cat, it's bad sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, what's the simple position here?
And it has the word budget scribbled in crayon on the side of the box. And you go, is it budget or is it not budget, right? Because in a way it's both. And to give an example, with Dark Side of the Moon, what if instead of being the main actor, he had hired another actor who has some pedigree of acting to be in that spot?
Well, the immediate question there is he the main actor because of budget, or is he the main actor because he's going über Auteur?
Oh, it's vanity. Like
Then yeah,
Okay.
the budget would not have saved it then. Because,
right, but here's what I mean. Like let's say that he takes a little of the ego out, and he goes and he's like, I have a little extra money. I could probably hire this person who's been in a couple of things, right? And they can be main character. Does that mean that it improves the work?
I mean,
I think what you're getting into is how are you allocating your resources, and that's where budget both does and doesn't matter. You can make something good on a low budget, but you need to be smart about how you use your money. Right away, I would say what it sounds like a Dark Side of the Moon is he misallocated his budget. Yes, getting two really high quality actors may have been good, but was it worth the budget? Or could you find two maybe less known but still very skilled actors and very talented, because there are plenty out there who just haven't had the opportunities yet or haven't been done as maybe not as associated with big names, but in doing so, would you have then had more money to put into, say, like bringing in those other professionals who can help make the whole product better? It's that investment of what are you investing on, the high quality final product or these features of the final product, because the thought process is that they will sell it. And because one could argue he could have used his budget better and maybe spent less on acting. He wouldn't have necessarily gotten big a name actors, had all that. But there are plenty of excellent actors out there who just haven't been given the opportunity yet to be kind of at the center stage on something, but are incredibly good.
The other question, I mean, the other, not question, but the other aspect of the actors you're hiring too is like we're talking about the FMV space. It's not a particularly big space, both production-wise and audience-wise. It's fairly niche at this point. So the question regarding like what are you spending on your actors are you spending on them for the quality, or are you spending on them because like what is the name of the actor who plays Jinx again, Dave?
Rupert Booth.
Because like if you're spending on Rupert Booth, the question is, are you getting Rupert Booth because you love his acting, because he is a good performer? Don't get me wrong, he is a good performer. Or are you spending on Rupert Booth because your potential audience really fucking loves Rupert Booth, and they're more likely to throw money at you on Steam for Rupert Booth?
The name versus the skill.
Yeah.
Basically.
I will say that's what got me to get it. Is Booth and Butler.
Yeah. But here's the question, though, is on the converse side is, yeah, they may have gotten you to buy it, but clearly the product wasn't as good. So was that actually a good investment? It might get people in the door, but if the product, once you step inside, is a bad product, you ultimately lose because you lose in loyalty. You may make an initial thing, but people aren't going to go back to it, and you don't get anything to your reputation. So it becomes also of like, are you looking to make something that really sticks with people, or are you getting... And that's where I argue, like, yeah, they got people in the door, but what benefit was that at the end of the day if the rest of the product was bad? Like, is that really a gain then? Or is that just, we did that to maybe try to make people overlook this? It's where I have issue when I see films where it's like, oh, this was just so-and-so because it's so-and-so. And it's like, you could have cast somebody else there and, maybe not spent as much on casting, but then you might have actually had room to, say, pay for things that were much more necessary to the budget. Like, better graphic artists, better editing, better you name it. So, and that's kind of where it's a challenge, because budget's a factor, I think, but it's less just budget overall and more of how are you using the budget that you have.
Because, like...
if you're limited, then what are the creative routes that you take to make something work within the means that you are constrained by?
Because, teams have made fantastic low-budget science fiction and horror for decades on effectively shoestring budgets. Like, okay, Liz, obviously, we cited Bad Taste earlier as a bad movie, but the way you described it, it's a memorable, cheesy one.
It's definitely memorable, cheesy. I will caveat, that if you're a fan of like sort of bad crazy movies like that, or like, you know, I would say objectively most audiences will say Dead Alive was the better of the two Peter Jackson films, whereas Bad Taste is very slow sometimes. So it was a movie that also hilariously was kind of like, is this in bad taste? Or does this movie just have bad taste, but it's also called Bad Taste?
I guess the question I would ask you is this a movie for the sickos? Is this a movie for the sickos from start to finish?
It's kind of, I mean, it's memorable, and it's low budget. But it's got that sort of,
my cat is nearly tripping over a power cord here and pulling things down with her.
It's the kind of bad that I would say it's so bad, it's memorable, and you can't help but laugh at it.
Yeah.
But it's also one that I was like, yes, my friends and I all probably arguably were a bit drunk when we watched it.
Because like, going back to the wiki for that, like that apparently the initial cost shot over weekends for 4 years was like $25,000. Of course, then apparently
really low.
Apparently, the New Zealand Film Commission then invested at the end of production, invested $235,000 at the time, which would be today US $393,000.
Yeah, I mean it's objectively a low budget, but what you just nailed there was here's the difference: is Bad Taste filmed on weekends over the course of 4 years.
Yep.
And so again, it comes back to when you have a low budget. What do you maybe allow for so that you can invest the budget where you really want it to go?
Exactly.
You know, is it that your film takes longer to make because you are using the money to put in the things that you need, but that means you can't do all this stuff really fast because it would cost too much money maybe to do this all like in a typical, like, we're going to shoot this in 6 weeks, or you save the money that you would otherwise be spending just to do it faster. And so you're going to take a lot longer, but now that money is available to go to other parts. Exactly. Or is it that, like, you know, it's also like, hey, we're earning the money as we go because maybe I'm funding this out of pocket and I got to go earn a few more paychecks as we go. So this takes time. Because I will say this, honestly, offhand, I don't remember looking at the movie and thinking, oh, this looks like it was made over the course of 4 years. You know, like, and I mean, again, it's been well over 10 years since I watched it, but it is one of those, it's like, it doesn't immediately come off as, oh, this looks like it was made over a massive span of time. You know, not to say that continuity is perfect in it, but it means there was some thought to staying consistent, even if it was not being shot all at once.
Yeah.
Because arguably 4 years is a huge amount of time to spend filming a movie.
Yeah.
You know, much less a movie that story-wise is taking place over the course of maybe a few days.
Yeah.
You know. So, you know, so that brings in other factors. But I would say, again, that's where it comes down to of, you know, and it's a little bit of a cult film, too. And it's, you know, it gains that sort of odd lovability with folks by being a cult film, more so, which means it's really appealed in a weird way to another niche crowd.
Mm-hmm.
But it you know, it's still, it's how are you spending what you have? Dave, to your point about that of, you know, the actor, it's funny as you were describing this game, I found myself thinking of it's the exact problem. And you both know that I watched, before we did one of our other recordings, I watched the 2 Rebel Moon movies. Not the director's cuts of them, but I watched the 2 Rebel Moon movies that Zack Snyder did and produced and released on Netflix, which is like Child of Fire and, I don't know, fuck it, whatever. Parts 1 and 2. And those movies, written, directed, produced, like, Snyder was everything on them. And they're god-awful. Mm-hmm. They're such bad movies. They're horrible. They're horrible enough that I started to sit there and look up and be like, why does Snyder suck? And one person I saw posited it very clearly, is that Snyder has been successful, but his successful films are all films where he is just doing one thing, where he is just the director. He's not writing it. He's not producing it. He's not doing all these other things. He has other people in powers saying no. Mm-hmm. And saying, no, that's a bad idea. But when he's by himself, it's a disaster. I mean, I started keeping tabs on how many times he switched to like slow motion bullet camera in just the first movie. And mind you, these movies are both over 2.5 hours long, and that is not the director's cuts. And the movies reek of, wow, one guy had control over everything. Even Star Wars, like, you know, we talk about Lucas of nobody told him no. Even the prequel films are still better. Like, they are better, objectively better than what Snyder did. These movies are just the epitome of, you've got one technique that you want to use, and you are going to use it everywhere. The story is just Seven Samurai retold again, and not even well. There is no pacing to this film. It's a disaster of no one was there in any position to say, that's a stupid idea, don't do that. Or that doesn't mesh with the vision of this film. Don't do that. And, you know, I found myself looking it up, and then when the person started going through, look at all these Snyder films where he did everything, and it was like, oh yeah, when he's doing everything, he's not a good movie.
Nope.
It's not a good movie. You know? And that's, you know, again, it's a problem of, like, what makes a good movie a good movie. And I think it points back to what we were talking about at the very beginning of it. Very, very beginning, oddly enough, this ties in. Variation.
Mm-hmm.
Variation. When you have different minds at work, producing variation and countering and challenging when something doesn't make sense, you are likely to develop a better product than you are to just be doing one thing by yourself in isolation with no other input. So, it's like also there's an experiment I think I remember reading about, it was run of like a pottery class where they were like, okay, this group is going to just make one single pot, and that's the whole thing. Whereas this group made tons and tons of pots. And then by the end of the, you know, like the course, they compared, and the product was actually better coming from the group that was just producing and producing and producing and producing, because every time they learned, in the repetition, they learned and they improved and they tried things. Whereas the group that just focused on making one single pot, perfect pot, actually didn't produce as good of a product because there was no variation. They were just working on the one. So.
Exactly.
Yeah. Basically, at least get somebody else to read your thing before you go forward with it. Get other opinions.
Yeah.
Don't just work it in an echo chamber.
I mean, the other thing too is like thinking back to the guy who made Dark Side of the Moon versus, say, George Lucas. I mean, the other issue there isn't the budget thing. Obviously, Lucas has the benefit of massive budget, but Lucas also has, I mean, for all of his problems, he still has decades of filmmaking experience under his belt, even if he's not the best. Because even with Star Wars, the original Star Wars, 1977 Star Wars, he's not the best director. But he still is coming out of this era where it's producing, like, the seminal directors of the latter 20th century. Like, he is in that in-group. He is in those classes. He is getting that same training. He is cross-pollinating with them. And it's, you know, he's getting a few projects under his belt at scale by the time he makes Star Wars. Like, he's already done American Graffiti. He's already done THX. Versus this, like, what has this guy done before Dark Side of the Moon? Is this his first big thing? Because the other thing about making things is you don't make the best thing right out the gate. No. It is an iterative process on yourself as a creative of learning what works, what doesn't, and getting better as you go along.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. I mean, I could look at that, looking at my sculpture work, and I can tell you right away. I mean, one, I already know it, but you can see in a progression, if I lined up like my human form sculptures that I've made, you could tell which ones were the first ones versus which ones are the most, like, which one is the most recent one. Because the more I make them, the more I learn, the more I correct, the more I find better ways to address something, you know. And, you know, there may be like, oh, this one actually in the middle did better at this than a later one. And it's like, well, yeah, but that's part of the learning process is, you know, maybe getting something right, but it missed something else. And now in the course of correcting that, I'm trying to find something better. You know, it's why artists
Mm-hmm.
spend time doing tons, like professional artists, like do tons of drawing classes and will go to drawing studios to do all this, because it's all about just doing it more and more and more and building that muscle memory and that instinct, and that through iteration, through just doing it over and over again. It's why critiques are so important, because getting perspectives from your peers, from other people of, oh, I think this should be here, or this line should be a little bit heavier, or the theme you're going for is just not coming across, you know.
And
Yeah.
So
and the other thing is too, like, the question is, what is it you're actually setting out to do? Because like when you are talking like Lucas and the prequels, and you look into the behind the scenes and the production history of that, one of the things you realize is he's not just setting out to make movies to make these movies. Obviously, that is one thing he wants to do, and he also wants to put in political commentary of the time. Well, hold on a second. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. Let's see, what was it he's doing? Right. The thing he's also doing is he's deliberately making a project to push a specific kind of thing on the production side forward. Like, it is not really, it's not even an open secret that what Lucas set out to do was to advance digital filmmaking, because this was something he was deeply interested in. As it goes as a filmmaker, Lucas is not a director. Lucas is a guy who is interested in the mechanics of filmmaking overall, is what I would say. Like, he has some ideas he wants to get out there, but overall the thing he's interested in is, how do you physically make the movie? And
that's why it's so much.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, and that's why so much modern filmmaking, even documentaries I've seen. There was one I watched years ago that was all about like the making of Star Wars, and at the end of the documentary, it was all these other directors, like, you know, literally like every big name in directing. Peter Jackson was even in it. It was literally all these directors pointing to, this is the innovation that came out of Star Wars to filmmaking. And to that end, you're exactly right. He set out to pursue this, and that is a very specific, like, if anything, that's almost the bigger legacy of Star Wars, is how it changed the way filmmakers make movies.
Yeah.
And can use technology to make movies.
And it's like, you can see the reverberations, even with the original Star Wars, throughout everything. Like, 2 episodes ago, we were talking about Battlestar Galactica. The reason we are talking about Battlestar Galactica to begin with is because that show exists to basically be, look, we can do Star Wars on TV!
With a little more soap opera.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember years ago watching like The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and they talked about in production going to ILM for help with like storyboarding and production and doing digital storyboarding to plan these things out. And they like overtly are like, yeah, we basically went to the Star Wars people and went, we need a way to do this that makes sense and that works for what we're doing for the scale and the scope of these films. You know, it's... Yup.
Yep.
I don't know why I just kind of came out with like a weird like bleat
Yep.
right there. Like a honk. I just honked
Hong Kong.
my brain. Honk. Yep. Now though, I'm gonna maybe reroute us a little bit here of blood orgies. Moving right along. Actually, speaking of blood orgies, there is a bad sci-fi that was bad at the beginning, and I'm less mad at it now. And that's Event Horizon. I was mad at that movie for a long time.
Much like the actual Event Horizon of a black hole, we will never escape the Event Horizon of Event Horizon.
Nope. And blood orgies will always show up. I will find a way to shove them in, even if I just stupidly say it in the middle of a conversation. No, there was actually a point in a tie into it, but actually Event Horizon does fit in with this, because for a long time I would have told you Event Horizon probably was one of like a sci-fi movie that I kind of objectively did not like. And a big part of it was the advertising was so misleading.
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh, yeah?
advertisements for it were so misleading that when I saw it, it was shocking. And you know, when you go into a movie expecting something that's more like alien sci-fi thriller and you get blood orgy, that's a little jarring. Especially considering at the time I was really still not into horror movies. Like I liked my Resident Evils, but like I hadn't watched Hellraiser, which my argument would be is Event Horizon needed to be marketed to like the Hellraiser crowd
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because that whole body horror thing would have like, you know, like it would have worked better if they changed the marketing and, you know, and finding out that Paul W.S. Anderson had limitations. Basically, they had much less time in post production for this film, which sort of makes it make a lot more sense. Where the hiccups are in that film was basically the studio saying, "Hurry up and get us the product." Which is like, that's unfortunate because you know when I went back and finally rewatched the film, I was like, okay, this actually isn't that bad. It just is suffering from clearly limitations that are difficult to work with, considering what was happening. Like, I'd be curious if he'd been given, like, not rushed in post-production, if he'd been given time and also hadn't had so much studio being like, well, we want this, well, we want that, well, we don't want this, Titanic's happening, and we want to make sure we're competing, you know, because Titanic's going to be a big deal, and we want Alien but not Alien, and this and that, and it's like, okay, there was potential here. So it wasn't as bad the second time I watched it. But it was not good when I first watched it. It was very bad when I first watched it. And I guess to that end, I leads me to the question of what about for you, any of the underrated science fictions, the ones that everybody sort of objectively says or the critics say are bad, but turn out that, like, you know, when you actually stop and maybe look at them, and maybe the first time you watched it, it's bad, but the more you sat on it, or if you watched it again, you went, actually, this is getting the short end of the stick. This one might actually could have been better and maybe wasn't given the chance, or is just underrated because it's getting drowned out by critics. And what is it that's
The
maybe working
strongest
more in those cases?
mechanical violator. Hokkaider.
Would be my go-to. 1995's Mechanical Violator Hokkaider, directed by Keita Amamiya, produced by Toei Pictures.
Ooh.
And it is... I would say it is definitely underrated. It is a tokusatsu production, so a lot of folks are going to write it, like a lot of American audiences are going to write it off the bat, and I imagine like even Japanese mainstream audiences would say, "Oh, that's a kids movie," because you know it's produced in the vein of, you know, Toei tokusatsu productions that tends to, and it's, you know, it's literally taking the rival antagonist from the latter half of a 1970s kids superheroes show and making him this kind of, like, I mean, arguably edgy anti-hero type. And when I say edgy anti-hero, I don't mean like he's like, it's not like American edgy anti-hero. It's, he's a little gruff, he's a little quiet. It's positioned as, the best way I can describe this is the final battle between him and Michael, as in named after the Archangel Michael, and Michael's faction is he's literally basically like the enforcer for a place called Jesus Town. And his
That's not on the nose at all.
No, it's not. It's basically it's painted as this paradise utopia, except you find out that the way it's upholding this paradise is it's a brutal totalitarian police state where dissidents are literally kidnapped and have mind control chips put in them to make them docile, obedient citizens. And so
Wow.
it's anti-hero in the sense that it is positioning, like, it's kind of taking the ironic isn't the right word, but it's the word that my brain keeps wanting to use here. Depiction of, like, where the typical force of, like, like of law and order and heavenly coded is then taken and depicted as, you know, being authoritarian, totalitarian, like unable to imagine alternative possibilities, and so anything that resists it is satanic or demonic, etc., etc. And like the scene between Michael and Hokkaider as they fight, like Michael delivers this speech where, long story short, he basically describes himself as the embodiment of justice and order, and he's doing this while holding up this branch of lilies that is in his master Gurdjieff's office. These beautiful, pristine white lilies that are clearly handpicked and cultivated to be like that, not naturally growing as they would. And Hokkaider takes them from him and just holds them tightly in his fist, like just stalk just sticking out of his fist, and says, "If you are justice, then I am evil." And it literally ignites the lilies on fire before dropping them aside. I love this movie so much.
I was gonna say, so he's holding flower in hand, like,
and then they ignite,
catches fire
as a symbol of his rejection of this corrupt law and order that is destroying lives to preserve itself.
Okay.
And so, but like, I think it is, I mean, it's underrated for one in the way that most people don't know about this movie, because it's like from a 1990, it's from the 1995 Toei Superhero Fair that summer, and like it's basically a cult classic at best. But, like, I love it so much. It's gone on to influence other things that are favorites of mine, like the Mega Man Zero series. The president of Inti Creates, the developer of former Capcom devs that worked on that series, literally said that they took inspiration from Hokkaider's setting. So, yeah, that's my I guess, critically bad but underrated science fiction movie. And now at some point, I'm going to make you two watch Hokkaider. I'm going to get you two to watch Hokkaider. I have
well,
to
thinking of another one, that I think I got you to watch it. We were talking about and because this definitely, I think, took a sci-fi angle on it. You know, as the franchise does have many sci-fi angles, is the Netflix Resident Evil live action.
Yep.
You and I had a lot of conversations about how, you know, the show was canceled and it didn't do well. And there's a lot of reasons it didn't do well. But ultimately, I think you and I both came out on the end of going, actually, that wasn't as bad as
I need to
people
finish.
were making it seem like.
I need to finish it still, but like from what I've seen, I liked it. Like obviously it's very much an alternative take, because its canon is very much an alternative take on the Resident Evil canon.
Yeah.
But the thing that, like, I mean, like, you know I'm not the biggest fan of the Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evils.
I love them.
I know.
I love them. They're
just
bad.
They're just not
some of them are
me.
really.
But
yeah,
like,
they're not everybody's taste.
Like, I think like as a work, like not just as an adaptation, but like as a work unto itself, that it is a stronger work than the Anderson Resident Evils.
Yeah. Well, and the Andersons are not helped by the fact that, especially Anderson's canon gets there's a lot of retconning by the later films of things that you're like, oh, we're changing that and we're retconning that, and there's something that happened off screen and we're not explaining it, and now this character is here.
Yep.
And, like, there were a few things that went off the rails, and then there was the point where I imagine the studios were pressuring them to get more game characters into the films, which is why the next to last film is just kind of like the worst of them. I want to say, I forget which one it is. I think it's Damnation or something. It is the one that has Ada and Leon and Barry all in it. Although I liked the casting for Barry, and I realized that guy looked familiar. I looked up and I realized it's because he plays a gold in G1, and I was like, that's where I've seen that actor before. Holy shit. But I liked his casting as Barry. Just he had a good Barry vibe, but that one was like, okay, the game characters being forced into this is the least natural part of the film. Like, the more natural parts are the original characters, but the story is otherwise really, like, they're Ada and Leon, I'm sorry, looked kind of like bad cosplays. And I'm like, that's not a good look for a movie, and that one just was so... Oh, that one is the most skippable of all of them. I still enjoy it. The music is fun. Jojovic is just being a badass on screen is fun. I enjoy it for that. It's that canon backtracks on itself so much.
It's like, as well, thinking about the Netflix show, it's like, character-wise, I love Jade as a character. And, like, they also did one of this, like, at least for me, I think it really worked how well they managed to gel, like, adult Jade and high school Jade as feeling like this same person, despite being played by two entirely different actresses.
They really had the look. They really also just looked a lot like each other.
I mean, they
it was
looked
like,
a lot
I fully
like,
believe that you're the younger version of this one.
They act so much in par with each other that it feels like audience, do you know how hard it is for two actors to make the same character feel the same while feeling different enough to be, you know, maybe like 6 years apart, give or take? I don't know how old she is in between the two versions of herself, so
I
like
feel
maybe
like
10?
it's like at least a 10-year. I want it, well, because the daughter is what, like 8 or 9, so I want to say it's like at least a 10 or 12-year gap. It's a fair enough gap for her to, also for the state of the world that the world is in. So I think it's actually maybe even more.
Also,
I feel like they actually set her at being closer to like late 20s, early 30s, almost the way they show her.
And I do love the impression of the world as like the world adapted around the apocalypse. Like, obviously you don't have the giant bustling metro centers anymore, but like the world hasn't fully ended. It's just changed. Folks, this may come back later in another episode down the season.
Yeah, it does a good job. It's a much better thought out approach to how do we take a franchise that has a lot of love to it, and how do we take some of the things from it and stay true to that, but still do our own thing, which I think is where people, unfortunately, it is the area where people tend to have the most trouble, I've noticed, when you go from something that has a very huge fan following and go to a new iteration of it, like a live action iteration, is there is a lot of difficulty with how much do you make it for appealing to fans while also going, we are going to be bringing in a new audience because this is a medium that there's a whole audience that will not digest the game but will digest a movie because it looks interesting. And how do we make that appeal? And this walked the line very well. I thought the way they incorporated in things from the games, like Chainsaw Guy, Lickers, even the weird centipede bug thing that you find in Code Veronica at the very beginning, they found a way to incorporate them in that actually felt more natural. But again, at the end of the day, in terms of collective response, a lot of people really hate that show. It got a lot of hate online. I've also seen people say that Welcome to Raccoon City is way better than it, and I'm like, Welcome to Raccoon City is trash. I've seen people say Welcome to Raccoon City is good, and I'm like, Welcome to Raccoon City is absolute trash. Trash. You know, but it's you know.
Wait,
in terms
what was
of,
that, Dave?
I said I liked it.
Dave likes it the way I like Doom. Welcome to Raccoon City is my
You're going down a road I can't follow, Annie.
Well, look, the one who carries it is our favorite guy, played Wesker. Tom.
Oh, well, except that he doesn't carry it as Wesker. He just carries it as being sort of an objectively, like, frat boy bro. But as soon as they said Wesker, I was like, you've lost me. This does not work. He should have been young Barry. I
Doesn't
still
change
vote
my
he be young Barry.
feelings. And I agree,
yes,
he would
the
be a
origin
great Barry.
the origin of Albert Wesker's iconic sunglasses as he's huddled in a corner, scared as he's mutating, given to him by Ada Wong.
It was, oh my
What
gosh,
the
that
fuck
movie
is
was...
this movie?
The movie was so bad. So bad. I was going to say, their characterization of Wesker, well, I want to sit there and be like, that's how you want to do Wesker? When the last live action of portrayal of Wesker was Lance fucking Reddick?
Wait, was it?
Reddit?
I thought that came out second. I thought that came out after.
No, it came out, Welcome to Raccoon City was after.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And like some folks may be like, well wait a second, he's not like actual game Wesker either. Ah, but there's the trick, folks. There's Wesker's
The clones.
There's Wesker's trick. It's clones. We got Bert, we got Al, we got Albie, we have actual fucking trench coat and sunglasses, Albert
like,
W. motherfucking
over the top.
Wesker.
Over the top Matrix hard on Wesker almost
And he
too.
pulls
Like
it off
he was even more
perfectly.
over. He was more over the top than even 5 Wesker was actually.
I think
and yet it works.
I think he is a fantastic interpretation of RE5 Wesker. I think he is.
He is.
He is
Well, it
nailing
worked.
that in that one scene where he actually does get to play RE5 Wesker.
I mean, it works. It works. Like I will say, I do think he's almost more over the top, and 5 Wesker is over the top. He takes it even more over the top, and it completely
Complete
works by having this element of who microwaved fish. Like you get this element of it of just, I don't know. I loved it, and I thought this was a clever way of paying homage to the games, but being their own thing still and doing something different. But it worked to me. Sadly, it did not do well, which unfortunately I felt like as the show went, it was really starting to hit its stride by the end of that first season. And I remember talking with one of my...
How long after it aired did we lose Lance?
I think within a year.
Also,
It
have we
passed
been
like a
saying
year or two
Hendrickson
later.
instead of Reddick?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, my brain's just been fucking with me then.
It's all right. It's all right. We've been saying the right name. But yeah, I remember talking with a staff member, though, who was also a Resident Evil fan, one of my staff, and he and I were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, it didn't get off on the best of feet. It was kind of having trouble at the beginning, but he even agreed. He's like, I feel like a season 2 would actually be a lot better. Like, it was finding its stride, and unfortunately we never get to see that because bad reviews and response, and also Netflix's tendency to just arbitrarily kill shows.
Yep,
'Cause
they're not
Netflix,
in the
like-
production business. They're in the content business. So
No, and they
there's
start
always
getting
more content to churn.
and it's unfortunate because I think that was one of those of like, it's not as bad as people think it is. Like I've rewatched it and been like, yeah, there's some things that suffer a little bit, but I like this. I like they did something that I also respect Paul W.S. Anderson for doing, which is I took the Resident Evil and I went, the fans have a love for this. I enjoy it, but I'm not just going to replicate the game. I'm going to tell my own story with it, which I think is a smart move to do sometimes when you've got a very pre-existing storyline in a fan canon on another medium. Is how do you reinvent it so that new audiences can come in and fans are still pleased? Unfortunately, that can become a difficult area to cross. But that aside, it's the it was something that maybe had more potential and got killed by people being like, it's bad.
So
I was mad
does that
about
mean that bad sci-fi can still make for a fun movie?
Oh, definitely.
I think it does.
I mean,
I think it can make for a fun movie.
We have an entire TV show and a beloved TV show based around that very concept, Mystery Science Theater 3000. Like how many
That is
of
very
those
true.
movies have you watched and actually genuinely enjoyed aside from the riffing?
I mean, the riffing is where it's at.
I mean, the riffing is where it's
Yeah.
at, but like, I love me some fucking Prince of Space, y'all. I love me some Prince of Space.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I would watch me
Yeah.
some Invasion of the Neptune Men just on its own.
Sci-fi that's so bad it's good. Well, my mom used to talk about, and I watched it years ago. I want to say Invaders from Mars or something. It's not Mars Attack, not our ack buddies. This is like from when my mom was a child, of watching this movie and being like, oh, it was super scary. It was super scary until I spotted the zippers on the back of the suits. And I'm
I
just
think
like,
they had that moment in Rugrats.
to me, there's something hilarious of like going back and watching and being like, this is kind of hilarious science fiction because it's so low budget, and it's like, I can respect that maybe you were freaked out as a kid when you weren't seeing like, you know, the scale of special effects we get now. But it's also really funny as an adult because the way it ages, you go, that's a zipper.
See, that's why
That's a zipper.
That's why you gotta watch more Tokusatsu, because they got their costume department on point for that sort of shit.
Yeah, but it's also kind of fun when you can spot the zippers too. Be like, oh look. It's sort of the like, it's like the backdrop of like, that's just a backdrop.
It's like I saw a GIF going around of a scene from the O-Ranger movie from '95. Probably the one that aired along on the roadshow run alongside the Hokkaido. I said aired instead of premiered. Anyhow, well, ran is probably the actual term. Anyway, I'm rambling now. We're like the monster from that movie, like, instead of being like Zipper, you can tell when they've cut to the two different versions of the costume, because they cut from the one where the guy is clearly in the costume to the one where they've rigged up a separate version of that head to be able to spurt out a flood of water, because he's like a water spout monster, like a faucet. It's
Yeah.
he takes off his hard hat, he turns the handle on his head, and then it abruptly cuts to the prop version of the head that can actually spew water.
It's like in the Muppets, the Muppet Show, the OG Muppet Show, when they do, there's a sketch that happened when the dancer Rudolf Nureyev guest starred on the Muppet Show, or Nureyev, whatever they say, Nureyev in the show, which is like, but they do a gag thing where, of course, because he's a professional ballet dancer, this premier, you know, like worldwide renowned, so of course they're like, okay, we're gonna put a ballet in here. We're gonna do like a part of Swan Lake, but we're calling it Swine Lake. And you can tell between the cuts when they have switched from a person wearing the costume of the swine in the tutu to a limp like puppet, because now he's got to swing it around and throw it, and he's bashing it on the ground, and then Rudolph throws it up in the air, and then they cut to the next shot is when it comes back down, it lands, and the immediate next shot is you can tell is now there is a person back in a suit getting up and controlling it. But hey, for this moment we've got to have it be just a floppy suit so that, you know, we're not like actually like literally beating somebody on the ground.
Yeah.
For the purposes of comedy. But yet it's sort of the beauty of the Muppets to be able to watch and be like, hey, they switched from the human to the slapstick puppet. And I love that. It's like, it's so obvious, but it's delightfully obvious, is the best way I could say it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. There's another type of bad I think of, too, which is the bad, but it's bad because the sci-fi itself is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't think this concept through, now it's just dumb. Like, and what I'm saying is what I'm saying making sense of, like, the sci-fi where it's like, actually the way we thought through how this world works or how this component works is bad. I think
so.
of offhand example, and it's not necessarily the key example because I don't think this denotes it, but, you know, there actually is no sound in space. So objectively, every single sci-fi where you can hear the lasers and the explosion is scientifically inaccurate. Now, that doesn't mean science fiction has to be completely scientifically accurate, but there is, I was watching a video about this the other day where somebody talks about of like what makes the science and the technology in science fiction work is, even if you suspend disbelief for certain things, is consistency, and also does it make sense within the world? Or are you bending too many rules to have this one cool thing? Or like, you know, plot armor. Like this, nobody's armored against lasers unless it's the good guy, even though the good guy's wearing even less armor, you know, type thing of, in your execution of the sci-fi, is that what's not working here? Sucks.
Ugh. That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I
I guess my question is: has there ever been an instance where you felt like the science, the premise, the science fiction part of the premise
mhm.
was not sold well enough, or was not developed
uh
well enough?
that's hmm. Now you got me thinking. Um I mean, I could go back to Three Body Problem, but I don't want to dip back in that well.
That well as barren.
It's boring. Let's see here. Just didn't work out premise. See,
I'll
it's a challenge for me because I don't take in as much sci-fi as y'all have.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
that's fair. I think of to an example, and this is actually one I find in literature, is Crichton is arguably is very good at the science of science fiction, or was very good at that. I say was, the late Michael Crichton. He was the first fiction author I read who would bother with bibliographies at the back of his book because, he's doing a lot of heavy research. That doesn't mean what he's doing isn't fiction, but like I think of like this hilarious story my dad told me from back when he was organizing a major science meeting and Crichton was the keynote speaker. And so of course my dad, listened in like some of the things, and the reporters asking Crichton like, well, what about this stuff with the dinosaurs and how we make it? And Crichton kind of wanting to stop them all and being like, y'all, that's a fictional story. Like, I wasn't writing science fact. I was writing fiction. But that line of where, to him on one far end, he wrote such good science fiction in that regard that people believed it to be, or people saw validity in it. And maybe it's because, even if he's drawing fictitious conclusions or something, or bending certain scientific rules or whatnot, it's just enough that people are like, ooh, is that? But on the inverse side, when you get something where somebody is like, oh, and the spaceship did XYZ thing, and you go, that makes no sense how we got here. Like, why is that? That doesn't work for me.
yeah.
Or it only works when it works in a certain case. Like, I was trying to think of one. I was thinking of this last night. I was actually thinking of this all in relation to another conversation we had, which means this will probably come back up when we get to that conversation. When we're having that conversation of, well, actually, to use the Resident Evil Mila Jovovich films again as an example, the science in there is so all over the map.
Yeah.
The science fiction part of the science in there, it is so insanely all over the map that you sort of sit there and go, what? Like, why are these zombies? How is the virus making these zombies do this thing? And why is there that guy? He exists. How did you get him? We're lost on what's happening here. Like, do not, and it's where I would say with those movies that I go, don't watch them with any grain of trying to understand how they make sense on the science fiction level. Just trust me, your brain is just going to hurt after a while. You are going to be jumping through hoops. Now, do those take away from the movies as a whole? Not really, because that's not what I'm watching it for. But to that end, it means it doesn't derail the whole film. So I guess my question is, can bad science still make a good science fiction movie, or does bad science fiction make a bad science fiction film?
I think you could have bad science make a good science fiction movie. Like, just because something isn't like strong in terms of sci-fi doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, for example, I'll probably get some hate for this, Stargate. Like, if you look at the technology and stuff of it, like, it's wild and nonsensical.
Yeah.
But
does
it's
it have to
fun.
make sense? Does it make sense within its own world? Maybe is the other question I have.
In its own world, yes, I would say that it makes sense. I think that there's some things where, man, I really don't want to go to it again.
Just do it. We ain't doing
God
points
damn
here,
it.
Dave.
3-body problem again.
Yes. The science in it does not make sense. It doesn't work in the world. It's really dumb. I'm trying to
you
think of
described-
others, but like,
I mean, he
Jesus
described, I
Christ.
guess, that thing in the later books where they're like slowing down light speed, and to me, that
Mm-hmm.
is the dumbest bullshit I have ever heard. And I will, you know, when it comes to science fiction, I will accept a lot of bullshit science because
Mm-hmm.
if it makes sense within your universe or you're using it right and you're consistent, you know what? I can suspend a lot of disbelief. You know what? Oh, wait. You know what? We hear explosions in space. Fuck it. It's a movie. Let's enjoy it or whatever.
And I mean, one of the
But
reasons
slowing down light speed to me is a point where I go, that just sounds dumb.
And I should note,
Yeah.
the reason I brought that up specifically, I didn't get a chance to say it at that time, but it's like, to deal into the nihilism of the thing, they do that so many times, they basically broke reality. And, like, the whole thing culminates in the factions destroying reality so hard, the only choice left is to basically force the universe into a big crunch and start a new big bang, so that maybe whatever pops out in that next universe will not fuck things up the way everyone in this universe did. And it's like, it's such a nihilistic take on everything.
They basically wrote themselves into a hole
Well, no, I
by
don't.
not thinking through like even the science.
Well, no, I
sort
don't.
of
I
like-
don't think. I think it was very deliberate because I think they are trying to make a very nihilistic point about the ability of cultures to interact with each other. I don't think this is something they wrote themselves into a hole with. I think it's such something their ideology led them to, and they are extrapolating that fucked up ideology through the course of the plot and the characterization.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That makes sense. I think of on the inverse side, there were some in some of the later seasons of Doctor Who, it happened a lot, I want to say, with the Matt Smith seasons. I remember talking with a friend about it, of how she's like, Stephen Moffat keeps writing himself into logic holes, and now he has to, Deus Ex Machina out of them. Because it's like, we're getting way too wibbly wobbly, timey wimey here. This is making no sense. Like, there are literally season finales that I'm like, I really don't understand that. And it doesn't even make sense in a whole, like, it's getting hard to suspend the whole time is there's only so many times you can go, it's wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, and therefore it doesn't make sense, because there's a point where you sort of go, this is getting off the rails.
Yeah.
And is getting a little bit too of a, you put yourself in a hole and now you've got to get your characters out of it. Which is not an ideal place to be,
Yeah.
writing wise. So I still love the series. There's just points, some of them are, they're things, it's like, that's just, you're breaking your own rules too much. Which I guess is the thing, is kind of how much can science fiction break its own rules within its own universe before you go, this is ruining everything. This is ruining the whole story.
Yeah. And
So.
I don't know. Sci-fi is weird like that because there's a degree where it's like, yeah, we have this like stuff that we're going to just throw in there, and it's like, because we're using techno stuff, we're using like machines and stuff like that, then we can say, yes, this can occur. Look at the lightsaber in Star Wars, right? Like, can you really build something that can cause literal energy to stay in a shape like that and function the way that it does? So far, I don't know. I don't think so, right?
There's
the
science,
closest is like a blowtorch.
people have come close.
People
I've seen
made
some
plasma
stuff of people
torches.
who, yeah, it's the closest comparison I've seen with people talking about in the modern, is that it is in essence a plasma torch, but it's definitely like, this is a futuristic plasma torch. So the idea has, I've seen people come very close, but something that is literally the scale of what a lightsaber is and the effectiveness is like, no, you still, science is a long way off from that sort of consolidating of that technology to be able to achieve that. Have we achieved a very, very rudimentary version? Like the caveman version, almost equivalent, maybe. But like the last video I saw of a guy who like tried to physically build a lightsaber, it also took him wearing like this massive backpack power thing, and he had to wear like heat protective gloves that like, you know, because it literally is like this could, it was a whole hot mess.
Yeah.
Doot, grabbing you a link. Doot. Not for the audience until I add it in post.
So like,
yeah. So, but it doesn't take away the fact that the technology doesn't exist, doesn't take away from Star Wars, I think, because at the end of the day, they're in universe. Universally, they're okay. They're in universe. They have their own rules, so they just let it flow within that. And so then it's like, oh, you know, I wouldn't call it bad science sci-fi. They've created a logic within their universe that works, so it doesn't take away from it. You know. When we get so off the rails of like honestly, the Doom movie was kind of like just the bad science plus just a bad movie, but also the bad science, because you sort of got to a point where you're like, I'm not really paying attention to it because what they're saying makes no sense.
Yeah.
So it's very, very, I think what we're getting to is that its core, bad science fiction suffers from the same things that bad story and self suffers from most often, which is, you know, writing, budget, lack of variation, or just, you know, how it was promoted. Yeah, ideology, who the people, who it appeals to, marketing. I mean, again,
people not being told no.
Yes. Yeah, you know, and that, you know, the bad sci-fi that's so bad it's good, you know, I would say, you know, has the same, probably follows a lot of the same patterns that what makes a horror movie that's so bad it's good. You know, what makes any movie so bad that it's good? And I think just as easily you see that it's going to be a lot of the same things in science fiction, where it comes down to, was it a commitment to a bit that's so absurd that by the end you're laughing because it is so ridiculous?
Like, well, Liz,
is it that they're taking it so seriously and they have literally $10 to their name?
It's like, one thing I'd propose there, kind of going back to bad taste, for example. How much of himself do you think Peter Jackson put in that movie?
He plays the main character in it.
No.
So.
I don't just mean like.
I know. Just it's
of his soul. Of his soul.
Yeah. I mean, I would think that he was not. It was something he wanted to do. You know, to me, when I watch it, I get a vibe of somebody had an idea and they knew it was a bit insane and went, "Fuck it, I'm gonna make it."
And I
but
think
kind of are self-aware enough of what they're making that they're not like. I don't think he set into this going, "I'm making a blockbuster."
And I think that is part of the key to like how something can be. It can be low budget. It can be on the technical level. It doesn't reach that, but what it comes down to at the end of the day with art is how earnest are you with it? How much of it of yourself are you putting in to this work? And can the audience feel it in there? Because like at the end of the day, like art is expression and art is communication. So maybe it's not the best art out there, but if you have earnestly put yourself into the piece, it's still going to resonate. It's still going to find a place in other people's hearts. And so,
well,
that salvage, like, maybe you're bad on the technical merits of the thing, but when it comes to the soul of the work, you're good.
Well, look at it in some ways, and I come back to it, look at the somewhat conundrum that is the illusion of the Muppets. Watch old interviews when, like, Kermit and Jim Henson, or Jim Henson and Rolf, or Jim Henson and another Muppet go on interviews on like Johnny Carson. This is not ventriloquism. This is not an actor sitting there, like, this is not Jeff Dunham or you name it ventriloquist, where you've got this illusion of the puppet is doing all the talking by itself and the person is sitting there and not talking.
You can see Jim moving his lips.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's right there. But it's so earnest that no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit. That is Kermit talking, even though you could see Jim Henson literally sitting there talking.
The clip,
but that's not what
the clip of Julia Louis-Dreyfus on Sesame Street. She almost certainly can see the performers underneath her on the stage, because that's the only way. You know, there's only so much room you can get your arm through to get a Muppet up in front of camera. But she's still treating those things like they're her fellow actors instead of puppets.
I mean, it's the whole, like, everyone loves to laugh about Muppet Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island. Here are two brilliant actors, Tim Curry and, Michael Caine, who are brilliant, took very different approaches to working with the Muppets. Tim Curry is just a Muppet. He is as crazy and as loony and as off the rails, and he fits right in. Michael Caine played it like he was playing Shakespeare against human actors next to him. And it's perfect because it's not like, both of them are acting to like hands in socks, basically. But the commitment to saying, whatever, fuck it. I'm acting to the puppet. I will act to the puppet. The puppet is my co-star.
Yeah.
And it makes it work, even though, there's a part of you that sits there going, I know this had to be some sort of hilarity because, they never cut to see the people from about the waist down, because, from about the waist down is a whole mess of people lying there being like, and probably on like skateboards and wheels going around.
Well, technically, if memory serves, the way they construct a lot of those sets is so that the Muppeteers can actually be beneath the set.
Well, yeah, and that's when they have it that way versus other ways, though. But it's kind of, you see both. I mean, I've seen there's this one video of like this children's show where the puppet is like doing this, and you can see these two people pulling this guy by his feet over a bridge while he does the thing, and it is just the funniest slow motion, like, we're just gonna pull you down the bridge, but it's what makes it work. It's called, none of the rest of this. It's the commitment to the art yourself that you're making, regardless of whether it's a crazy thing. It's why Jim Henson could go on Johnny Carson with Kermit and nobody cared that you could see him talking, because we're not talking about a ventriloquism. That's not the illusion. It's why, like, I always love it in like the Muppet movies that the opening credits at the beginning of the film, they credit the Muppets the way they would the actors. You don't actually get the voices and the actor credits until after the movie, when they go, okay, now here's the series credits and who actually took to place it. But they put it in front of the audience as these are the actors. Their commitment to that is what really, I think, allows the audience to go, I accept that and I believe it. And it's so sincere. It's not like I'm committed to it and it's dumb. It's a very sincere commitment to this sort of magic that they're making. So, and that is all to say that I love the Muppets.
In that topic of, like, what is bad sci-fi, what is good sci-fi, and Tim Curry being a goddamn Muppet himself.
I love Tim Curry.
And
I love him.
Like, what immediately comes to mind, Dave, speaking of FMV, it's not an FMV game, but it's a game with plenty of FMV. The, crap, is it Red Alert or is it Command? Okay, it's Red Alert. Red Alert 3 with Tim Curry. It's like, I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space! I can't do it as well as him, but,
Yeah.
There's like a Tim Curry flavor that only Tim Curry can do.
It's
okay.
like, it's not a solidly defined line as to what is good and what is bad. It's what works. And if you think about it this way, I'm not saying you produce art by running it through a machine, but think of every artistic piece as its own machine. And the parts that can work in one machine ain't gonna work necessarily in another machine. And you might be foolhardy for trying to fit them into that machine. you gotta use the parts that all work together. And sometimes beautiful hammy bullshit is what makes something good when it gels with the rest of the work.
Sometimes you look at the machine and go, I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have believed it would work, but it's working.
Spice!
Yep.
It's the epitome of the times when you go, I would not have expected that, but it's working, so, you know. Every teacher's like, I didn't expect this plan to work. Oh, there's a potato staring at me.
I got miles of the. I've lost the tuxie to my father, who is like, she came down when I went down to get food during the production of this episode, and so now I think she is accosting him for a double cheeseburger, because that is what that cat is.
I mean, meat and cheese. That cat's got priorities.
Yes, she does.
So
Double cheeseburger's great.
they are. Dang, though, I feel like we've covered a lot with bad sci-fi.
Yeah.
I want to leave this with, we've talked about the worst sci-fi. Maybe, if you have one, your favorite bad sci-fi. If anybody's interested in wanting to watch a sci-fi that's just like, you can objectively say, I know it's bad, but I enjoy watching it. And maybe it's not even your favorite. It's just one that you're like, yeah, if somebody puts it on, I'm going to have fun. I know it's bad, but I'm going to have fun.
Could we include ones that would have a Mystery Science Theater attachment?
I completely accept anything in the science fiction realm.
Space Mutiny.
That is
You
a
enjoy
good
it.
rec.
It's
a good one.
fantastic, especially with MSC3K. And look, Reb Brown, people need to like look more into his catalog.
Oh, you mean Marvel's Captain America's Red Brown?
That's right. With the motorcycle and everything.
Oh,
So
goodness.
great.
I'm gonna have a fun time getting clips this episode, I can tell you that right now.
E, what is your fun bad sci-fi?
The
Or fun for you
strongest
bad sci-fi? Okay.
Mechanical violator. Hokkaider.
And like, I know I went on my ramble about Hokkaido earlier. It was like, I know most folks are probably gonna watch it and think it's, B-movie schlock. And I always worry when I say the name, because, like, you hear the name Mechanical Violator, and things probably start popping into your head. But it's in the sense of, like, he is violating the unjust totalitarian order. He is a maverick. He is an irregular. Which probably is why...
He's violating the rules.
Yes. For true justice and freedom. And so... But that movie, like... It is action-packed. It is not the most well-acted thing in the world, mind you. It doesn't need to be. But, like, there are gorgeous, even dreamy visuals at times. I didn't even go into the dream sequences that appear throughout that movie where, like, the central thematic conflict is represented in really ornate, high fantasy metaphor. In, like, y'all watching this or seeing the clips right now to know what I mean. So, Liz and Dave, on the other hand, don't get that benefit at the moment. So they're like, what the hell are
We'll
they
get it
talking
later.
about?
We'll get it later.
We'll get it
Yeah.
later.
It's like Hokkaido as the Black Knight on his steed, like, trampling this demonic angel skeleton thing that appears and is, like, this symbol of like just wasteland and destruction and like explosion of feathers. God, I love this fucking movie. And also, hey, if you love old ass Ray Harryhausen style stop motion animation, we got that in there too.
This has got a little bit of everything.
It
sounds
really
like.
does.
Yeah.
You got some early rudimentary, like, 1995 Japanese motion picture CGI in there. You got you got stunt actors and like some of the most awesome suits you've ever seen. You got stormtrooper grunts whose heads are exploding in like flashes of light and rapidly traveling plastic shards going everywhere. It's just fucking wonderful. Motorcycles aplenty.
It sounds fun.
He grabs one of those stormtroopers off their bike and just drags them as he's driving his bike, and that's dragging their literal ass along the road. Hakaider said, "Fuck fascists, folks."
That's right.
What about you, Liz? What about you?
Oh, and it's been my top favorite, I think, on a lot of lists. I think I just come back to, some of them are actually like I think some are objectively good, but in general, Paul W.S. Anderson, Resident Evils, the canon goes everywhere. The science goes everywhere. They retcon themselves so much. But when I just need something to put on, like if I'm working through a project and just need my brain to kind of settle down while I focus, I can put them on. If I am just like, I just feel like I watch them. If I want to see a badass female, like a badass woman, go be a fucking badass everywhere, I watch them. Are they Oscar-worthy, top-of-the-line filmmaking galore? No, I just earlier compared their portrayal of Leon Kennedy and Ada to mediocre cosplay, okay? I've seen cosplayers do better, okay? Do more with less.
Well,
I still love them.
Well,
I still love them.
Well, here's the line. Is their Leon better than Welcome to Raccoon City Leon Kennedy?
Oh, that Leon is subterranean. It's so bad. That Leon does not. That Leon, I deny its existence.
Wow.
I deny the existence of that Leon. It's so bad.
What is with that man's facial hair in that movie?
That movie was so.
That is like the most fuckable facial hair I've ever seen.
The only good thing. Trying a thing.
They got the worst direction possible.
Yeah, he was trying a fuckboy thing.
The only good thing that came out of that movie, and this is my view, the good thing that came out of that movie was that we have identified who should play young Barry in our Barry prequel film that actually is not going to be that is only Resident Evil in so much as is that it's Barry Burton, and that we might mention, and an Umbrella might get mentioned, otherwise has nothing to do with zombies, viruses, or anything. It is young cop Barry days. And what's his face? Their Wesker would totally rock that Barry, and it would be beautiful. I will objectively say, except that it's not really to come out of that movie, the only other thing that actually I will give credit to being good is that, well, yeah, the Ada was good, but not that the way they did her in the movie. It's more that I have to acknowledge that she did a really good job in RE4 Remake as Ada, because that was the actress who actually did RE4 Remake's Ada. And, it threw me to be like, whoa, you really do look exactly... They really did use you as the physical model and not just motion capture here. You were the model on every level. And, it's like, well, and so I acknowledge her, but less for Welcome to Raccoon City and more for the fact that she just did a damn good job in 4 Remake playing Ada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, credit where credit is due. You actually did do work on the games, and you did good work on the games. And so maybe for once got to actually look like the character that you played in the game, since we know behind the scenes is like ping pong balls and suits and cameras glued to you, and it is the most insane thing to watch behind the scenes on those performances.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I love it even if everybody else hates it.
Get Tom on the phone.
Movies. But not Welcome to Raccoon City. That can die in a fire.
I still can't wait for you to finish Silent Hill 2 so we can then look to see if Return to Silent Hill is on streaming yet. And
oh my gosh. And all rage. Oh, in here somebody. Now then, as I think we've covered the whole story, and yes, I'm bringing a potato on to say hi.
That dog ain't got
Potato
no bones.
says hi. No bones potato, folks who are listening. I have brought the Seamus, the potato pupper, up for his regular greetings of the world. and looking like he's the world's saddest, most uninterested pup. Yes, you are. Mwah. So, Ian, Dave, where can our Voidwalkers find you both?
You go first, C.
All right. Well, y'all can find me both on Twitch and YouTube at the channels Lanzalencia. That's LANZALENTZIA. The stuff live goes up on the Twitch, all live like, and then those archives get thrust over. Why did I say thrust over? That doesn't even. That's weird.
Just go with it. Go with it. Commit to the bit.
No, they get tossed over. They get tossed over onto YouTube. Also, that's right now where I'm going. Like, I'm not running my marathon runs yet through a stream. So right now I'm just saving those into the PlayStation and then chucking those from the PlayStation UI off into YouTube. I'm not even bothering to name most of those things because I think the bunch of numbers after the game name kind of fits weirdly with Marathon's whole aesthetic shtick. So it's like Marathon _9852120089543876211. It really fits, y'all, with the cyberpunk future corporate dystopia shit that's also going on in the background of that game. You can see all those on the YouTube where the VODs and those live. And should we throw out our Blue Sky handles if we got them?
I was gonna say, let's real quick just cover where they can find Dave at, and
Yeah.
then we'll get to the group handles.
Yeah. Y'all can find me at twitch.tv/sheriff_Flynn. I am mostly off that right now, but the spring is about to end, so I might wiggle my way back on there.
Oh god,
be
something
really
very
nice.
cursed just popped in my head.
And YouTube, Sheriff Flynn, where hopefully I can start uploading some stuff I've been itching to for a bit, so we'll see.
Nice.
All right, how
Looking
about
forward
you,
to it.
Liz?
I can be found Lady Hyacinth 57 on Twitch. That is Lady Hyacinth, as in the flower, but not named for Bridgerton. Thank you very much. I've had that name for a lot longer. And 57, Lady Hyacinth 57 on Twitch and on YouTube. The YouTube right now, I have not made most of those videos. Are still unlisted. I've been migrating over my Twitch stuff. So if you want to catch the live stuff, catch it on Twitch. I do a lot of Resident Evil, and then horror. And I'm gonna finally be finishing my first Silent Hill game that I've played all the way through beginning to end because I've yet to finish any Silent Hill until this one. So I will finally finish Silent Hill 2 remake on Tuesday.
I
should
think
have about
I
an
think
hour to
your
go.
second run of the game should be the PlayStation 2 version.
I'm not even there yet. So, but yep. There's a lot of freaking out, a lot of swearing. There was a lot of swearing yesterday.
Well, occasionally there were some parts where you weren't allowed to swear.
Yeah, you threw that in because I literally started off in a boss fight, so I was flipping the fuck out the whole time. So come join, have fun, be chaotic. Redeem the I'm not allowed to swear for 10 minutes. Redeemable, and watch me struggle through boss fights with it.
Folks, help me pester Liz to introduce the can only swear in foreign languages option.
I need to do
That's
more
fun.
foreign language study.
Listen, we can you can start with the shice and go from there. Shice is
We'll get
fun.
there.
Shice.
The problem is when it turns into me swearing in English because I just cross over from the moment.
Well, then you got.
In the-
I mean, that's the fun. You got to reset the timer.
Yeah.
Audio listeners, you can't see it, but she just made a very irate face with me right now.
I'm giving you a look. Now then, if our viewers would like
I'm a
to
trickster
interact
devil.
more with the if our viewers and Voidwalkers would like to interact more with our Confabulators, how can they reach us? Us as the Confabulators.
Every now and again, we stream on twitch.tv/ is it Confabulation Station?
Yep.
Confabulation.
Confabulation Station. Yep. You also reach us at our email, theconfabulators@gmail.com, and ask us questions, and we will definitely address them after we screen them, just to be sure that everything is good to go in that regard. And
And
yeah,
we are also up on Blue Sky. You can interact with us on Blue Sky, the Confabulators. As the Confabulators, we'll share when new episodes go live up there. We also share occasionally when we're doing other things like live streams. You name it. We share stuff periodically. We'll share sometimes when one of us is doing a stream. Might share on there if we're doing a special stream. I think we were doing. You were covering posting on Blue Sky when I was doing
Yep.
Road to Requiem.
Yep.
That fun party.
Yep.
I'm already
Yeah.
thinking on the next road to Resident Evil. So, also, folks, don't forget to rate and review us. Leave us comments on our YouTube or on your whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. Remember, we are through RSS. You can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, except Pandora, because they had too much paperwork, so we didn't fill that out. So, just saying. We looked at that and went, no, we can do without Pandora.
yeah.
So, but don't forget, and spread the word. Tell your friends. We love to grow our little weird, nerdy family. Also, this is the potato. If you want to find the potato, you find him with me. That's it.
It's true.
As he starts to do a snuggle, he's in
Puppy.
snuggly mood. He woke up this morning and was sassing at me because I hadn't gotten out of bed yet, and he wanted me to give him attention. And he's like, "Mom!" And then I put him up on the couch, or put him up on the bed, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm feeling spazzy." Were you feeling like a spazzy potato?
All right.
Anyway, so folks, we want to thank you all for tuning in. This has been another episode of the Confabulators.
Yeah.
I'm Liz.
I'm Dave.
And I'm E.
And if you don't know what a confabulator is,
Ask
your potato.
That works too.
Ask your potato. You know what I'm talking about.
Seamus, what's a confabulator, puppy dog? Can he hear me through the
I mean-
headphones? Oh,
I
there he
mean,
is.
There he is looking at me just like, Mom.
Well, you are a confabulator.
I am. He's doing the stretchy thing. It's like, Seamus, I don't have enough lap for you to stretch.
This has definitely been a chaos episode.
I approve it. Chaos is good.
This is what happens when we start
Embrace
an hour
the-
earlier than usual.
Embrace the chaos. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for being here and for tuning us in, and we hope to catch you at the next episode. Until then,
Later.
out.
Puppy dance. Puppy dance.
Puppy Dance is sliding out of my lap, so Dance is like...
The Confabulators is hosted by Liz Strauss and David Bockenkamp. Editor is E.W. Klein. Theme music is Oh Heavens by Cassidy B. Composer and artist, cbrva.card.co.